21, Commissioner McKenzie. Um, I just need to read this in the record. This isn't the usual statement. Oh, here it is. City Commission of Fort Lauderdale. The City of Fort Lauderdale is hosting commission meetings in person now. For additional information on how to view the meeting, visit www.fortlauderdale.gov/city commission meetings. To help ensure decorum, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. Number two, if you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, please sign up in the City Hall lobby. I see I have a number of people who sign up to speak on some items here today, and and a member of the city clerk's office staff will be there to assist. So we are going to the conference meeting. Thank you all for being here today. It's a beautiful day out there. So we'll start with the communications from the city to the City Commission. We had one communication from the Education Advisory Board. The Education Advisory Board encourages the City Commission to express support to the School Board of Broward County to ensure the leases with Bezos Academy at the 4 identified schools that they are completed by January 31st, 2022. These schools will include North Fork Elementary, Thurgood Marshall Elementary School, Bennett Elementary, and Siegel Alternative High School. So that's already in the works. Chris I
think Dr. Zeman is here. Zoe. I saw Dr. Zeman in the hall. Is he? There he is.
Oh, there they are. Hello,
Maybe you
Dr.
can hear from the board, and then we'll answer any questions.
Sure. Dr. Zeman.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This is a pretty simple request because we really would like to nudge Broward County School Board to move quickly. This is a pretty significant investment on behalf of Bezos. They come into each of these 4 schools. They re-outfit the classrooms and the facilities, the restrooms, the learning centers. They are going to be offering some pretty exciting all-day, 12-month-a-year free Montessori-based education for our 3- and 4-year-olds to the tune of hundreds of people. It's very exciting. We have Sheila Shedd from the Bezos Foundation here, and we're just asking you to nudge them in the right direction. It's critical that they get this done by January 31st so that we can do the physical rehab of the spaces that they'll do. They'll get a 10-year lease, but they'll offer this community program for 10 years. And we hope that it continues to grow beyond the 4 schools that have been identified. So I just wanted to thank Sheila Shedd from Bezos, who is here. And I just wanted to note again that the relationship with Broward County Schools is changing. They contacted one member of this commission who jumped up and down and said, okay, let's talk. And within 2 days, we had a formal meeting. And within 2 weeks, we had a pretty good plan in place due to the great city staff that you've assigned for education.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and Zoe for really spearheading this effort. I want to thank the foundation for identifying Fort Lauderdale as a place where they'd like to invest. This is a tremendous program for our community, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And I know that it took a collaborative effort between yourselves and our folks here. So everyone involved, we really appreciate everyone having done what they did to make this a reality. So now I guess the ball is in our court to get these leases prepared and completed, and I'm sure that will happen. So and again, this is really exciting, especially for underserved communities that never would have otherwise had an opportunity to benefit from a program like this. So thank you very much for the work.
Well, one sec, I have a question too. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it was very exciting. I was thrilled when they contacted me to move this project forward, and met with Zoe and Bezos, and then the Education Advisory Board jumped on it too. I know we also looked at private parcels. Are we only looking at Broward County Public Schools? Do we anticipate that they will accept this proposal from Bezos? Do we anticipate any problems, or should we continue to look at private facilities also?
Absolutely. There's an opportunity for Bezos to expand beyond. This is the kind of nearest target where we could get it done quickly. but there are opportunities to do it in other places. More importantly, I think, not more importantly, but in addition to that, there's also the opportunity for private daycare providers to come in and learn from the folks at Bezos. So they've opened up the door to saying, look, we think we're going to offer first-rate Montessori-based early childhood education. And if there are people who are running a daycare in their home or in their church or in their center otherwise, they're welcome to come in and learn from us, to get resources from us, and to help kind of beyond just the physical structure of schools and then other facilities. There is one church that's been identified, by the way, Commissioner, that had built a school and it didn't open during the pandemic. And so they're one kind of classic site where this could also be done.
Okay, good. And do we anticipate that the school board will approve this? All four
Absolutely.
sites?
This is a speed issue, Commissioner. This is a no-brainer for them. It's underutilized space. That's why it was picked by city staff for the first site.
Good. Well, I know everything aligned perfectly because the Education Advisory Board has been analyzing the open space or the available space at our schools and early childhood as well. So this all came together. And we just want to really thank Bezos Academy. I don't know if I've met you yet, but welcome to Fort Lauderdale. I enjoyed working with your team and excited to see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to express? 'Cause,
Mayor, if I could just really quickly echo what you said, and the Vice Mayor, when I read through all of the information and the minutes of the EAB and the program itself, it's just tremendously exciting. So Zoe and Dr. Zeman and the entire EAB and Bezos, this is a great opportunity for our kids and early childhood education. And it also is such, I think, a relief for the parents who will be able to pursue employment and know that their children are going to be having absolutely the best care all day and educational opportunity at a very young age. So this is just a really exciting program that's just, worthy of all the kudos that we can muster. So congratulations.
Is Sheila Shedd in the audience? Sheila, did you want to say a few words? You signed up to speak. Welcome to Fort Lauderdale.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. Just wanted to echo what Dr. Zeman and Zoe shared, is that our team is so excited to first launch these first four. And to your point, we're looking at more sites throughout Broward County and specifically Fort Lauderdale. The support that we got from having such focused support, I guess you could say again, but the fact that Zoe and Dr. Zeman and the Education Advisory Board, they've made time for us. We've actually visited the schools several times. Now when I get off the highway, I'm like, there's North Fork, like I know I'm starting to get my bearings, and it's just the beginning of a really nice partnership. And to share about our vision is, again, like we said, we want to have an academy within the academy. We want to be able to provide a support, and we wanted to add to what's already here. We don't want to take away. We don't want to disrupt what's already working, but we also want to add to. So especially where there's wait lists, we want to be able to take those off the list, because we want every child to have access to quality education.
Great. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate the organization.
Thank you.
I think one point worth pointing out is that this is the first site in the state of Florida, right? State of
Yes.
Fort Lauderdale. So,
Correct.
yes, way to
Right
go.
now.
So this is the second site nationally, correct? You just only
Perfectly. Right now, we have 5 schools, all in the state of Washington.
In Washington,
So
okay,
this is
Portland
one of the
area.
first sites that we'll have in Florida, and Texas we've also expanded to. But this is the first round that we're trying to launch next fall of 2022.
All right, so thank you for looking at our city.
Great.
Thank you.
You hear that, Miami?
May
Yes.
I add, just from a staff perspective, Zoe Saunders, Chief Education Officer. So just to echo the comments, this is the beginning of a long-standing partnership and the immediate opportunity are these 4 schools, which we're looking to open as soon as October of next year. So the next step for us as a city would be to draft a letter of support to Broward County Public Schools, expressing our appreciation for this partnership opportunity, and also our role in planning up until this point of analyzing the data, engaging stakeholders, and the site selection process. From this point on, we also have a role in reaching out to our community, making them aware of this opportunity so that kids in our community can benefit from this. Also, there is a workforce development impact of this program. Bezos Academy is committed to hiring locally, and also the year-round programming allows for families to more easily pursue jobs, opportunities where otherwise they might not be able to because they don't have childcare. So with your direction, we could move forward with drafting that letter of support to the school board expressing our support.
Great. Thank you so much, Zoe. Anything further? Anyone else want to say anything else? Okay.
So do they actually need anything from us, any kind of action, or just?
Yes, she wants a letter from us, and,
Okay.
and my office is preparing a letter.
Excellent, thank you.
Business one, leaf blower update. I guess Commissioner McKenzie. Is your speaker on? Is your? Okay.
Oh, I said it back quiet. All right, Portia and the committee that was assembled, if you all would meet me at the podium, please. Good afternoon, colleagues, community, staff. I'm Robert McKenzie, the District 3 Commissioner. I was charged with the leaf blower exploration. Months ago, it was brought to our attention by this commission and staff that leaf blowers was public enemy #1. So we went out. Okay. Go ahead. Got the pictures on that too? Storm drains?
Use the arrow keys.
So we went out and we did an exploration of leaf blowers, and we assembled a team, and we did private, public input for the team to really see what it was that leaf blowers were bringing to the table. And what we particularly looked at is each one of the commissioners' concerns about leaf blowers, and we addressed it from that perspective, just to give you a tidbit. So what we're going to do is Portia Williams from our code department is going to give us some information and background on leaf blowers, statistics. As we did have the last meeting when we first started this, we had a leaf blower presentation. That's how I got your perspectives of what you wanted and did not want to see. We took all that into consideration. And staff led us to believe that leaf blowers were an issue. And today we're just going to present the facts, and we'll take input at the end. Also on my team, we have Kyle Berger. He's a private landscaper, does mostly the Los Olas corridor, and a lot for Mike Weymouth and his company. And they're going to give us a perspective of what happens when we're sleeping and how important leaf blowers are to the corridor. We also interviewed Phil Thornburg and his staff in terms of what they do from the public side of leaf blowers, because we have over 75 parks. We're in charge of the beach. And there's a lot of cleanup that has to happen before we open these premises. So we took all of this into consideration, and we looked at the impact that it would have if we did something or if we did nothing. And also with that, I'm going to start off. You guys want to start? We're going to let Portia start, and then I'll come back up and give you some other observations that I personally took. And I think, Steve, I somewhat became an expert with this, with all the time that we put into this this research. So with that, Portia, would you give us the facts and your presentation, please?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Portia Williams. So the information I have here is really about the code enforcement complaints and violations as they relate to leaf blowers. There's 3 code sections that I believe are relevant to the topic. The first is under Chapter 17, which is noise control. The second is under solid waste, which talks about the introduction of debris into waterways. And the third is in Chapter 25, which is about streets and sidewalks. So the first code section really deals with if we have anyone that would be blowing leaves or debris with the leaf blower onto the sidewalk that is under 24-7 or into any types of waterways or into the street. We did a report for the past 3 years. There were no complaints or violations under section 24-7A1, which is the section that is specific to trees or any debris being blown into roadways or waterways. The second and the most common is about the leaf blowers.
So, wait a minute, can I stop you there? So, because there were no complaints, is it your position that this doesn't ever occur?
No, Mayor, when I go to the other 2 violations, there
Okay.
are some for those violations. Under section 17-8, this is our most popular code section that is specific to leaf blowers. Section 17.8 is under noise control. There is an exemption that is specific to leaf blowers. It provides the times of the day, Monday through Friday, being 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Between those hours, neighbors, companies, anyone can utilize leaf blowers. If we receive a complaint during that time, we really look for the time frame that the leaf blowers are being used. We do not do a decibel reading during that time. The next slide shows that there were no cases in terms of violations, but the next slide actually shows that we have had some complaints over the last 3 years. So in 2019, there were no complaints received by our office for leaf blowers. For 2020, there were complaints about leaf blowers, and also 2021. So I placed the specific complaints on this slide. I'll stay here for a little while. What you all will primarily see is people complaining about the times of use of the leaf blowers. Okay, and I'll pause there for a moment. The next slide is really about the discharge of leaves or debris into waterways. If there's someone using a leaf blower or other tool that would put it in the waterway. This is our code section. There were complaints. These are the ones that we have. I outlined them on this slide. It's from 2019 to present. Do you all have any questions regarding the code complaints or violations as it relates to leaf blowers?
Again, is it the position of your department that because you did not receive complaints, formal complaints, that the activity that is prohibited by our ordinances does not actually take place?
I will not say, Mayor, that it does not take place. I would say that it's rare for us to receive complaints regarding it. In the instances that we do, it is really the type of complaint that we have to go in real time to witness. So whenever we have a complaint that there's a landscaping company, I can specifically think of instances along Fort Lauderdale Beach where there would be a company blowing debris into the roadway. We have to have an officer that responds during that time. We cannot do the typical 24 to 48 hour turnaround. Other instances.
So to that extent, if there's a violation,
Yes.
let's say a landscape company is blowing debris in a sewer drain, okay? They're gone in another hour, and you don't come back for another day or two. So the whole process seems flawed, and maybe that's why nobody files a complaint, because they know that no one's going to be there within the hour of when the landscape company is there, because by the time your department is able to arrange for a visit, whose phone is that?
Mine.
Oh.
Perfect timing.
I know that music.
Perfect time. What you talking?
By the time one of your officers is able to come to the site, the landscape company is gone, correct?
Correct, Mayor.
All right. So the process, we don't have a process of enforcement for the most part. Because there's no immediate response.
If we receive the complaint, we will go out in real time. There's not always a guarantee that we will see the landscaper when we go out, but we do try to respond quickly because we know that it is a transient violation.
Because you've listed a number of complaints. I swear I've gotten more email complaints than you have formal complaints over the last couple of years.
Yes.
People constantly complain to us, leaf blowers. So I realize the limits to what your department can do. I'm not sure your department is really best suited for responding to this kind of situation, but I appreciate your coming and showing us at least what you had.
Thank you, Mayor.
Talk about our orders that we do have in place.
I did, yes, Commissioner.
You guys have any questions in reference to the order?
Can you go up to the microphone?
I was asking her, did she talk about our orders that we do have in place right now? And we found in our research, a lot of the things that we're talking about are in that ordinance. And I just want to point out the commission's concerns. Mayor Trentalis supports total ban on leaf blowers for environmental reasons. Vice Mayor Moritas supports of regulation of hours, operational flexibility, enforcement, and a ban on lawn debris discharge into waterways. Commissioner Stephen Glassman opposes a total ban on leaf blowers, supports the review of operating hours, address the impacts to the waterways, and enforcement. I myself oppose a total ban on leaf blowers. Commissioner Sorensen, concerned about NOAA's environmental impacts, supports review of operational hours. And this is how we got here. These are things that we took in concern, and in the end, we did make some suggestions. And while we were doing that, we kind of ruled out some of these, so we did try to play devil's advocate as well. And some of the suggestions was charge of times as agreed in the last meeting. That was internal notes, increase enforcement, which I think that's the biggest factor here, enforcement. I mean, we can put all the ordinances we want on the books if there's no enforcement, because there's a current ordinance on the books. And we can enforce it if we had the manpower. And I want this commission to understand one thing. When I got here, there was 3 code officers. We're now currently around 27 of them. And when the NOAA's committee got together, and when we kept talking about NOAA's throughout this city, and I found this out while investigating leaf blowers, that we divided the manpower that we currently have to deal with nighttime NOAA's. So now we don't even have the resources we once had when we started out with this research or a quest to bring leaf blowers into compliance. So we are going to have to make a decision from the commission to figure out what we need to move on to staff enough people to go out and enforce leaf blowers. We looked at recommending the battery pack. And there'll be a testimony in a few minutes of why battery packs will or will not work for public or private. We considered incentivizing folks for using a lower powered battery or converting to battery operated, but we don't think these measures work. We looked at the grass clippers and leaf collection should be part of a stormwater management, street sweeping, and retrofitting catch bases that are already in place and don't charge anything else or confuse with the NOAA's ordinance. And what I found particularly interesting during this whole thing is when we asked the code department to give us a list of the violations of what is the noisiest complaint we get, leaf blowers ranked last. Barking dogs, pool pumps, and garbage trucks. And we see garbage trucks every day in this city. So, and since the inception of this committee, when you look at the complaints that we're getting, they're really not the complaints that you're talking about, Mayor, that came to your email, because somehow or another they weren't forwarded to the proper place so we can go out and research. But I personally, when I gave the testimony on becoming an expert, took to the waterways. I've been doing it for about 6-7 months now. And I wanted to see how many people were actually blowing into our waterways. And what I found in my exploration is one person on Mola that was blowing his dock off with an electric plugged in leaf blower into the environment. And you'll hear testimony in a few moments from the profession of how they do their blowing and picking up of their clippings. It also was mentioned that we're blowing into the storm drains. So I walked every district several times and started looking and paying attention to storm drains. And I found something very interesting. We're going to show you a slide in just a moment. But it wasn't leaf blowers. It was everyday behavior of the residents of this city throwing a plastic bottle down, a cigarette, or anything of that sort that they did not want to find the nearest wastebasket and dispose of. And what really, really blew my mind, Mayor, was the tree canopy that we rant and rave about. It's the number one violator of debris going into our storm drains. Our own sweepers either sweep them in there or just from their natural way that they fall off trees during different seasons, they compile in the curb, and if there's a rain or a strong wind, our curbing is structured so that everything drains to what? The storm drain. So PIO, if you could just show the pictures, and we went to every district. So I did this independently of me, so I can take my expert eyes off of what we're looking at, because I really want to get to the bottom of leaf blowers being public enemy number one. We interviewed Parks and Recreation, and we asked them how would it affect you or impact you if you went over to battery-operated devices, and then we took some of the equipment they use on a daily basis, and we compared the noise levels of all of those tools, and you'll see the results of that when we demonstrate. Look at the screens, please. Electric.
So you're saying they're about the same?
About the same, but we really found out the electric was a little louder than the gas operated. And this is the testimony from the operator of the tool, not me. Then we also got a testament from Phil's department on how this would impact them if they went to battery operated apparatuses. Phil, would you like to just speak to that?
Good afternoon, Commission. So as the Commissioner said, I think as far as the noise goes, and as you heard, there wasn't any real discernible difference. There was a little bit. One's a little higher pitched than the other one. And so there was some difference in the noise level and some of the pitch level. But as far as, a major noise difference, at least from our staff, they didn't feel like that was a major issue. I think from our side of it, more of the commercial industrial side, the challenge with the electricals that they found out. So what we did when this came up, we bought some electric ones as well. So we bought still electric leaf blowers and still are the kinds that we use for the gas. So we can compare them and start to use those. So from what I'm understanding from staff, the electrical are more expensive by the time you buy the batteries and you buy extra batteries and the chargers. You're probably looking at about 2 to 3 times the cost for an electric compared to gas. The maintenance side of it, you don't have the maintenance on the electrical side that you do on the gas side. And of course, you don't have to pay for the gas and the oil. But I think there's still, long term, it's probably the electricals are more expensive somewhat. On our end, and then as far as usage goes, on a typical light, dry day, I think there's no issues. The challenge is if it's wet, if the grass is wet or the leaves are wet, or in our case, we're blowing the sand off the sidewalk on the beach and things like that. If it's heavy or if it's wet, the electricals definitely, is what the crews are saying, did not do the job compared to gas just because they didn't have the power. I think they're getting better. I think the batteries are getting better. I think the power is getting better. But at this point, what they're saying is that for a commercial type operation that we do, and the amount of usage that they need, at this point, they're still kind of wanting to go with the gas.
Okay, thank you. Any questions that you may have of Phil? All right, thank you.
And also, Vice Mayor Moritas, we looked into the company that was supposed to be on Las Olas, and what we discovered is not a headquarters, it's a power center that has been there for years under new ownership, and all they do is service and sell battery-operated gas, lawnmowers, anything to do with landscaping, and there's no business there. So we did reach out to look at some of your concerns. So I just wanted to make note of that. And next, I want to bring up Mike Weymouth, Las Olas Corporation, to talk about the impacts from the private side.
Thank you. Thanks for leaving a little bit of chicken on the bone for me. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you. This all, I guess, came from being in front of you guys a few months ago, and somehow I got roped into the committee, which I'm happy to be a part of to speak to you from our side of the equation. I know that this is a conversation about leaf blowers, but I think it's important to also understand that we're talking about noise and we're talking about pollution. So you need to add lawnmowers to that, you need to add edgers to that, and you need to add chainsaws to that, just in the landscaping area of things. The other thing that I think needs to be focused on is that this is not strictly a commercial issue. If this gets passed or some iteration of it, it applies to the residences as well. So I personally have a chainsaw, I personally have a leaf blower and an edger and a lawnmower, and I use them all, and I live on the water, and I try to be cognizant of what I know that is important to the mayor. So, if you're going to go out and enforce this, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and you're going to have to go out and find a bunch of these great citizens of this city. So, after spending a lot of time going through all of the information that was provided to us, it comes down to two things. One is hours of operation, which is something that can be adjusted. And the other thing is enforcement, which, again, is something that can be addressed. I think the cost for you to add enforcement officers to specifically patrol this, you're going to find is going to be cost prohibitive. So it may be an awareness campaign that the city needs to put on or something like that. But my suggestion after, I don't even know how long we've been dealing with this, but I would look at the hours of operation and I would look at the enforcement. For me personally, as many of you have experienced or I've told you, Las Olas Boulevard is like my own private little Disney World. All of my stores open by 10 a.m., between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. The restaurants open at 11, the retail shops open at 10. My explicit instructions to Emerald Isles is I want you gone by 10 o'clock. When Disney World opens up, you don't see a single person out there sweeping, blowing, cutting, anything like that. And we treat that the same way. And finally, we're getting to a place on Las Olas where we want to be, and to not be able to regulate that would be very difficult for us. So thank you for your time. I'm here for questions if anybody has any questions.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Weymouth? Okay.
I'm going to show the pictures now that I talked about with the storm drains and what is actually collecting in those areas. And then we will have testimony from a private landscaper who represents the other landscaper who was on our committee, Tom O'Laughlin, who does a lot more residential than you do commercial, but we have both perspectives to present to the commission. Just want to show you storm drains in the southwest, in the northeast, in the northwest, and in the southeast. And the collection was very similar in terms of this is on a day, any given day, any given day.
Is it any given day?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, what, just press it?
No, it's already being displayed.
Oh, it's being displayed now,
Yeah.
but it's kind of not. See it? But it gotta look this way.
Can you move the
See the green
slide?
there?
Can you move the
It's
slide?
not
So
from a leaf blower,
no, that doesn't
it's from a
help.
resident.
No. Can you move it just one turn?
I thought we just did.
There you go.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
What are we looking at?
This storm drain with bottles and debris that did not come from a leaf blower. Look at the next one. And all these are titled throughout the districts. It's a daily collection of our storm drains. We're talking about the environmental impact of a person blowing leaves, but look at the daily impact of our tree canopy and our residents and their bad behavior.
What's that?
That is like straw from a tree, probably poinsettia. Look at this one. This is not a leaf blower. Look at this one. Look at this one. District 4, look at this. That's the one you saw earlier.
What is that supposed to represent?
That's a storm drain, the collection of our tree canopy.
Okay.
Those are leaves. Either our sweepers on the streets that we sweep, push it there, because they don't pick up, or extrapolate, especially if it's a parking space where you pull into. So if you pull into a parking space, they're not pulling into those parking spaces, at least not in the Northwest. District 4, District 3, got a little turkey fried chicken there. Some other cups. District 3, District 2, District 2, District 2, District 1, and on any given day, Commissioner Glassman, you can look at our storm drains and you'll see a daily collection of environmental impacts that have nothing to do with the landscape industry. It is human behavior. It is human behavior, or we need to find a better way of how we clean our curbs, our gutter systems, or our storm drains, and we need to look at enforcement. Just want to give you a different perspective. And with that, Kyle Berger will come up and give a testimony from the commercial landscaping perspective.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission. I second everything that Phil has reiterated about his department, and putting a ban on the leaf blowers would be detrimental to the business and keeping what we take care of as the Los Olas corridor from being cleaned every single day. If you do look to go from the gas to the battery, I also second what Phil said, the cost goes about 2 to 3 times, which would be extremely detrimental to any private business in your city. The one thing that I have to agree with Commissioner McKenzie is we deal with the city or the Los Olas corridor where the storm drains every morning have collection of leaves, debris, and garbage. Now, the leaf blowers are not putting them there. That debris is there when we arrive at 7 a.m. So what we're recommending is enforcement of the existing ordinance and changing any of the time that might be suitable for your particular neighborhood. So with that, do you guys have any questions from the private sector?
Any questions? So let me ask you a question. So how did you clean streets before leaf blowers?
Well, there's always been, in my time in the landscape business, there's always been leaf blowers. Back in the 60s, I don't know. I wasn't born then, so that might be something we'd have to go back to the drawing table and find out with the committee.
Okay, so life was without leaf blowers did not exist for you.
Yeah. I guess I'm showing my age.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I was born in 1962, and at the ripe old age of 7 and 8, my father purchased me a lawnmower and told me to look out of the window. There's a French man looking for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, mow the lawn. Mow the lawn. And at that early age, for residential, I used a rake. And as I progressed, and around the age of 11, 12, they came out with the plug-in leaf blowers in my young lifetime. I cannot speak for the mayor or Commissioner Glassman, but I'm sure I can represent the vice mayor, Commissioner Sorensen.
We grew up in the Stone.
In what we,
Yeah.
see, I grew up in it, but I
We used
wasn't.
to take straw and make brooms with twine, and then we used them.
1847 is when the leaf blowers, 1947, I'm sorry, 1947. That's from the city auditor. Now, I do think in our wrap-up, Mr. Weymouth hit it on the head, and I think even Ms. Williams. Enforcement and hours of operation, and we looked at it in both private, residential, and the Las Olas corridor and the beach, which we knew the beach and the corridor could not be altered, but maybe residential. And I think Portia and her staff had already taken that into consideration and incorporated in our ordinance. And we looked for other cities that went out on the same exploration. And I think we found two, Tamarack and Miami Gardens. And when you look at the contents of it.
Miami Beach just passed a leaf blower ban last week.
Right. Well, we didn't have that then. We just completed our stuff a little bit before that. But if you look in there, the ordinances that we found, they're very similar to what we have on our books today. Enforcement and maybe adjusting the hours of operation on the residential side. Any questions of me or the committee?
I have a couple.
Yeah, I have a question too. Mayor, go ahead.
Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I think you mentioned Mr. O'Laughlin. Is he here to talk about possibly residential?
He did not, and Kyle kind of was going to
Kyle's
speak
working
to,
with
but
them?
he strongly opposed the battery-operated apparatuses. He did agree to an adjustment in hours, which we incorporated with Ms. Williams for the residential.
Okay, thank you. That was going to be my one question to him to see. I don't really support banning the leaf blowers, the gasoline leaf blowers either. My complaints from my district were more the hours, maybe 7 a.m. was a little early. So I wanted to see how that would impact his business from the residential side. I know we heard the commercial. I know you prefer it on Las Olas. You want people to get in and out before your business opens. And then when people are sleeping, they prefer to have it a little bit later. So maybe we could look at that. It may be difficult to enforce, to have two
And on the
different.
residential side, we found that they want to really start going home around 3 o'clock. So they don't want to extend into the 7 p.m.s like some people are talking about. Those are people like you and me that come home and pull out the lawnmowers after work and start cutting the lawns. So like Mr. Weymouth said, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander, everyone's going to get caught in the crosshairs of this if we move forward with the ban. That's not what we're recommending.
Right. I'm not
Also
recommending
keeping the
that.
door open that we monitor as we discover things along the way.
I would say maybe if I had a suggestion, maybe it would be to start a little bit later on the residential side. I do believe going until 7 p.m. is fine because also it rains most days in the summer around 3. So it'd probably be tough for the residential landscapers to
And he agreed to 8 o'clock.
8 a.m. to 7 p.m. That would probably be a good start if we could just delay the leaf blowers. 7 a.m. is probably a little early. And like I said, that was my main complaint. Also, I had a question about, do all of our, and I know more about stormwater than I ever thought I would, do all of our stormwater drains have catch basins?
I don't know the answer to that question, but
Yeah.
I'll go out and do a
Right,
committee.
or, because I have heard this also a lot, like making sure we are cleaning those. So maybe
Alan?
I think one is synonymous
Alan?
with the other. That's,
stormwater drain has catch basins, all of them
I think it's,
do.
yeah,
That's
I
how
think
they're
it's
built.
technically a catch
Come on,
basin.
Nancy.
Can't
So-
hear. You're all talking over
Yeah, Commissioner McKenzie, when you were talking about the debris you saw on top, I believe a lot of it gets kind of caught underneath, and then cleaning that out, I believe, I've heard a lot of complaints about that, making sure we're cleaning that out enough before it does enter our waterways. So that would be something.
Between Dr. Gassman and Alan Dodds, I think they
Right.
can answer that question. You can answer it?
So because I hear you, it's more than the leaf blowers dumping debris in our storm waters. So I just want to make sure we're cleaning them enough.
So most storm inlets, unless they're really old, which I don't think may or may not be the case, they all start with a grate to catch the big stuff like Commissioner McKenzie showed you, bottles, wrappers and stuff like that. But then inside each of the storm drains are what's called PRBs, pollution retardant baffles. And I don't think it's complicated, but without showing a diagram, it doesn't show you how it works. But it traps a lot of the pollution inside the catch basin for further cleaning on periodic basis. Again, this gets back to management and maintenance. Is it done periodically enough? Obviously, from the pictures, no, but it's a form of retarding the pollutants that go into there.
Mm-hmm.
As far as real quick, what I got up here to talk about, so when we talked about this, so Mr. O'Loughlin was agreeable to 8 o'clock. 7 p.m., leave it alone because that's for the private residents who get home at 5 o'clock.
Right, I agree.
Cut the grass or do whatever. Most landscape companies are gone before it gets hot out. So if you can leave the commercial areas at 7 a.m. and do the residential at 8, beyond just the roads that we're talking about and blowing the clippings and all of that around. For me, I've got several office buildings on the boulevard. I've got 6 parking lots that Kyle blows every day. To have cars in there and try to sweep or do whatever fun stuff we want to talk about is kind of a non-starter. They start showing up at 8:30 to go to work, and he's got a very regimented process that he goes through to get all this done by 9:30. So
Right.
I hope that you leave the commercial side alone and address the residential side.
I agree with you, Mike, and that makes sense to me. I do want to, also address the mayor's concerns about the pollution that's getting into our waterways. And I want to make sure we're doing all I can. And I know your department's great, Alan. So I know we are probably cleaning it. But just to, make sure we're cleaning those catch basins enough, I think Mayor would address some of your concerns about the debris getting into our waterways. I mean, yes, it's from directly people's backyards who live on the water, but it's also those catch basins.
Yeah, and again, I think from the natural attrition of seasons and leaves and palm fronds, falling, this is what it's falling into the waterways unsolicited. And probably speaks to what Dr. Gassman spoke to when we started this journey early on. So this is just in our discovery what we have found and would like to present to you all.
Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments? I do.
Go ahead, please, sir.
All right, so, and first of all, let me thank everyone on the committee and yourself, Commissioner McKenzie, for making the effort to do the research necessary in response to concerns that I had and people in our community have expressed to me about the leaf blower presence in our community. So as an example, just as recently as just a few days ago, I got this email from a gentleman who lives in Flagler Village. He says, and he talks about how he's lived in Flagler Village for 15 years, and he loves the way everything is growing and primarily changing in positive ways. But he talks about how awful it is, the noise. I am bothered by the offensively loud noise emanating from leaf blowers. It seems 99% of the time they aren't even needed. They're just blowing leaves from one side of the parking lot to another. It's a typical complaint that I get.
But I also want you to remember now, and I'm not discrediting anything you're saying, before the leaf blower comes the lawnmower, the edger, and other apparatuses that put those clippings out.
Well, they're airplanes too, so we're just.
I know, but I'm just
leaf blowers right now.
But I understand it. But I want to give you a clear picture.
I live here. I know.
He's still going to have noise.
Right. Can I finish? Okay. So, and I appreciate the advocacy that the commissioner has with regard to not wanting to make any changes with regard to leaf blowers. But the reality is that I have personally witnessed companies where their workers blow debris that is like clippings into the gutter, which ultimately end their way into the sewer drains, which ultimately causes an environmental hazard for our community. We're already having problems with stormwater backup and so forth, and this just continues to exacerbate a problem that may also be contributed by plastics and other kinds of debris, but this is just part of it. So even though there are plastics and there are other forms of debris that somehow make their way into the storm drains, it doesn't mean that this is not a problem. It just means that we have multiple sources of pollution that seem to permeate our stormwater drain system. Now, it's no coincidence that, that I received these two photos from Mike Weymouth himself back in May of this year, and I'm going to put these up.
Sit here. No, sit here.
So put this one first. This one first, this one second.
Turn it the other way.
So what we see here is a city worker, actually, using a leaf blower. This is right by the Stranahan House next to the Riverside Hotel at the Lower Ward Park, blowing debris into the water. And if you look at the next picture, there we go, the mess. So I appreciate Mr. Weymouth bringing this to my attention, and he's equally as offended by this happening, especially near his hotel. But there doesn't seem to be the resolve to try to do anything about it. We're just willing to accept it because for some reason it seems that the commercial benefits of leaf blowers seem to dominate the conversation rather than the concern for our environment.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in this world, we have to recognize that we have a very fragile environment, and if we don't start doing things to better our environment, we're going to crush ourselves and make life uninhabitable in our own city. So, we start with little things like plastic straws, and then we go on to other things like leaf blowers.
Mm-hmm.
So with leaf blowers, there are two issues. One is noise, and one is what happens to the debris. And as far as I'm concerned, the noise, I saw your demonstration and saying that the decibel level was about equal, whether it be a gas blower or an electric blower. But more scientific study was done by other cities. And in the newspaper last week, we were reading the results of those scientific studies that were conducted by Miami Beach. And the gas leaf blowers were far noisier than the electric ones. I guess it just depends on what brand you use. But overall, the average was less than the gas blower was more than the electric blower. So with regard to noise, we continue to hear from people who are annoyed by the noise. Now, whether it's because it's early in the morning or late at night, or just in general, people at home listening to leaf blowers. I remember we were doing a commercial over at the parking lot over on Las Olas, and in the middle of our trying to tape it, there was a leaf blower 2 blocks away, completely obliterating everything that was being said. It was so noisy, you could hear it that far away. So let's not be in denial that this problem exists. We can differ as to whether or not it's important. We can differ as to whether or not there should be a pathway to change, but let's not be in denial that the problem doesn't exist, because it does exist. Now, with regard to the debris itself, let's face it, our waterways continue to be infiltrated by all kinds of debris. This is a typical example of what you see on the screen. And for us to say that, well, it's not a big problem, well, that's a policy decision on this commission. And if I'm the only voice that speaks to this issue, I accept it. I understand it's a democracy. But the reality is that this is a problem. And I think that at some point, if not today, at some point, we need to address the environmental impact that this has. We have to recognize that our environment is important to us, and our waterways are our lifeblood of our city. And if we continue to allow garbage to be spewed from motorcraft, if we continue to allow fertilizer to seep into our waterways that cause algae blooms, if we continue to allow clippings to make their way in our drainage systems, we're just heading for more and more trouble, and we're going to find ourselves living in a sewer as opposed to living in the paradise that so many of us came here to enjoy. So I appreciate the work that was done by the committee, and I appreciate Commissioner McKenzie taking it upon himself to bring the issues together. But my opinion is we need to do something, but I don't sense a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings from my fellow commissioners. So I guess we're just going to move on and
No, actually, I want to make sure every commissioner gets an opportunity to
I've
ask
asked them.
questions.
I've asked them to speak.
Do we have any more?
They didn't want to say anything. So
And Mr. Weymouth has one comment for the record, and then I'll close out.
Mayor, just as a matter of clarification, and thank you for sharing those pictures because they did bother me. I also shared those pictures with the city's Parks and Recreation Department, and I can tell you that I have not witnessed that behavior since then. So that gets back to, in my comments earlier, of an awareness campaign for all the commercial landscape maintenance companies and for the property owners as well. So, but I shame on me for not having followed up with that, but that's.
well, I
10 feet.
appreciate. Thank you for doing this. You helped us because by pointing this out, we now established a policy within our city: don't blow the debris in the water.
Right.
Which I thought was the policy anyway, but I guess no one knew about it. So, thank you, Mike.
You're
But
welcome.
at the same time, that's just the beginning. And yes, an education campaign would be helpful, but I'm just saying, if we don't do something to protect our waterways, we talk a lot, but where's the action? And that's why I feel it's important that this was one more step in the direction of trying to protect our environment.
I grew up on the New River, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. The reason the river is the color it is because of the tannins that come from the leaves upriver, all the way up to the lake. So
Okay.
anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you.
And Mayor, if I may, I just want to say that I agree with everything you're saying in terms of the waterways and what we need to do to protect the environmental aspects of this. It's just that I don't think that the banning of the leaf blowers is the way to go. I think that the other enforcement mechanisms and the other issues that you've talked about can be addressed, but I just don't really make the connection with the leaf blowers. Although I do like the idea of perhaps changing the times and doing those kinds of things, but I think environmentally there are other things that we can do. That's all.
All right.
So, Mayor, are we exploring the 8 a.m. residential?
That is part of our
the-
recommendation.
that's the
comes
recommendation.
Back to you, and we move forward as a policy making body, as the mayor indicated earlier. And I too agree to mostly everything you said, Mayor, and the others. I mean, but how do we go about it? How do we get there? Is another question, and there's other elements in there that we need to go out and tackle by the same token.
And also, Commissioner McKenzie, I do believe part of this is an education campaign. Like you said, Mayor, we do have an ordinance where you shouldn't be blowing debris into our waterways. And I know we have an ordinance about fertilizers, and that's probably more of a culprit to our waterways and the problems we have when all the pesticides and fertilizers get into the waterways. So maybe there's a little bit of an education campaign also that can come out of this. And thank you for your work.
And I want to thank everyone on the committee and staff for helping me put this together. And hopefully I answered all your questions, and I'll return to the dais.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So is there consensus that we should modify the hours of operation in residential areas to 8 a.m. instead of the current 7 a.m.? Is that what we're talking about?
That is correct.
It's on weekdays, because it's 8 a.m. on weekends anyway. So just keep it that way on weekends and during the week, to 8 a.m.s.
Yeah, I do have a question about the ordinance. I really didn't put the two together, but there are other things like our lawnmower and our edger. Does this apply to everything or just leaf blowers? Is it every lawn?
Or
every piece of lawn equipment?
any mechanized lawn implement?
Right, because I'm thinking, yeah. What does the
I'm
ordinance
good with
say?
that.
I mean, because you
Especially,
did bring that up.
I mean, a
Commissioner
hedger
McKenzie,
doesn't really make a lot of noise.
I think the focus was leaf blowers, so.
Leaf blowers.
So just keep it to leaf blowers? Okay, that's fine.
It was
We
they make the most
and
noise.
we just pay attention to noise. I mean, we got a noise committee. And as we gather things, we look at them objectively and figure out how do we get there.
Portia?
Commissioner, if I may, under this code, section 17-8, it encompasses all yard maintenance tools.
Oh,
So I just wanted to
Or
add,
does?
so it is everything.
it
All right,
does.
so,
We can't separate it? I think we can with policymakers.
well, I don't see, what's the problem with including them all?
Well, no one complained about a lawnmower or a leaf blower. We just gave a demonstration of which ones were louder than the others. And just to arbitrarily go out and group them, I think is not fair to the industry without going out, doing the research and coming back.
Yeah, but the reason for wanting to ban the noise from leaf blowers from 7 to 8 a.m.
So our garbage
Same-
trucks.
would be the same rationale for every kind of lawn maintenance.
And I agree with you, but I think if we do that, everything that ranked higher than a leaf blower, including dogs, pool pumps, and garbage trucks, need to be included in this.
Well, garbage trucks.
But those are the complaints we're getting, on record, not to my email. I'm not trying to debate you, I'm just
problem
giving
with
you the
garbage
facts.
trucks is just, we're not looking at sustained noise. You're just looking at a momentary, like maybe
They're doing a whole street
10 or 15 seconds.
every day somewhere in this city, and they're leaking all types of liquids, and garbage is found off the trucks, which I've been complaining since I was a baby about the garbage trucks. But the focus here today was leaf blowers, and if we're going to group lawnmowers and other apparatuses for landscaping, then we need to look at every noise complaint
Well, let me
that's
ask.
ranked higher than a leaf blower.
Okay, well, is there consensus on this commission to ask the city attorney to come up with an amended ordinance with regard to all lawn maintenance equipment or just leaf blowers? What is the consensus here?
All.
Oh,
Commissioner Sorensen? All? Okay, so all. Alrighty.
well, I don't think they're going to do one without the other. So I think
I-
it makes sense. And I don't let my husband go
Yeah, sure.
outside until 9.
I agree.
I'm better,
Listen,
yeah.
and I agree with the consensus, but listen,
Yes.
so we never talked about the other element, which is enforcement. Are we going
I
to hire?
understand.
Are we going to hire people?
And we'll just let the neighbors know. They'll call.
All right.
No, because our staff now, 27, has been broken in half to deal with the Icon and YOLOs and what's the place there by Shirley's place that we get the complaints about? Upstairs and downstairs there on Las Solas on the eastern end. No, the other restaurant,
Not salt,
right there by Shirley's place. Balcony.
balcony.
So they're constantly complaining about the noises.
Well, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other issue. So, and we have ordinances for that too. It's
do?
just enforcement.
So my point is, we need the manpower to enforce it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing.
All right. All right, so we have a consensus.
So are we going to deal with manpower? That's all I'm asking.
We have a consensus with regard to all lawn maintenance.
Can I ask a question of the mayor?
Yeah.
Are we going to deal with the manpower for enforcement? Yes or no?
Maybe if we just have the ordinance in place and then do an education program, maybe enforcement won't be a problem.
Okay.
Start
All right.
with that.
Thank you.
Start with that. Okay, CF1. Okay, this is, I guess a lot of people are here to talk about that. I have a number of people signed up to speak. We have a presentation from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. Are they here? Carr, Riggs, and Ingram here?
So Mayor, they are online? Yes. As requested by the commission, we had asked if you would like to have them in person, and your option was to have them participate via Zoom.
Wait a minute, there was the
That was a motorcycle.
hard to distinguish.
Understand.
All right, say it again.
So we had asked the commission if they would like an in-person presentation, and the commission opted for one by Zoom, so they are available. And
Okay.
there they are.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
No, they're not. Here they are.
So Mr. Kincaid, Mr.
Right here.
Roline, the two of you are from the Carr, Riggs, and Ingram?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, great.
Short slide show presentation for you this afternoon.
Okay, great.
Mayor, can I ask a question before we
Wait,
start?
hold on a second. How long do you think your presentation will take?
About 10 minutes.
Okay, very good.
I just want to ask a question, and it's of the city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, I'm gravely concerned in the area we're about to embark upon, especially when there's an investigation out there. And what I would like to know, which I probably won't say a word as normal, anything that we say as commissioners, would that be evidence that can be used against us at a later date, which I know the answer to, but I want you to give the answer. Because I think we're on a slippery slope here. I don't mind doing the outcome of the forensic report, but I don't want, testimonies from the city manager. I mean, I don't want people to get pulled into a liability. So please tell me what our rules of engagements are to participate in this, because if it is going to be an opportunity where I can be called in to testify, I would not take place in this conversation.
Well, you don't have to
No,
participate.
I'm talking to the city manager.
I know, but you don't have to participate.
No, but I'm talking about a legality here. That's
Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Certainly anything that is said, again, we have no confirmations, although we have high confidence there are other investigations, at least one other investigation. Wouldn't necessarily, it could be used. Certainly things that you say could possibly be used in that regard, or seen as an indication of a position that you may take. You're not voting on anything as a commission. So from that standpoint, it would be more on the individual side of what is said or not said that could potentially be used. I have no control as to who's hearing it and potentially what could be used. We do have issues ongoing with the contractor, which obviously if there's something they hear that they like, I'm sure they'll jot it down. But as to how effective that's going to be in the future, there's no way for me to predict that. But obviously it's a public setting, and anything you say obviously it is out there, and if somebody wants to use that, they're more entitled to.
Okay, I'll listen to the report, that I may or may not stay around for the cross-examination, and because I don't think it's fair to the district commissioner who's a part of this, or staff that will be a part of this. The contract is one thing, but that's just me and how I feel.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, please proceed. Who will be speaking first, Mr. Kincaid or Mr. Berline?
Yes, sir. I will be. Ben Kincaid.
Okay, please proceed.
Well, before we begin the presentation this afternoon, we do want to take the time to express our appreciation for the opportunity to present our report before the City Commission. We'd also like to thank the City Auditor's Office and all of those that city staff that were involved in helping gather the numerous amounts of data for our report, and for city staff that made their schedules available for our interviews. For the sake of time, we are going to only provide a very high-level summary of the report here today. One of my partners, Rob Boleen, is on the line here as well with us, and that is to provide additional time for any questions from the City Commission. So one of our first major findings within our forensic examination report was conflicting interpretations between the city's contract, certain contracts, and its procurement policies and procedures. Specifically, we identified where administrative contracts were being used to provide additional contract dollars to certain contracts that were not clearly authorized by the City Commission. And it's unknown if those were intended to be authorized or not. We also identified underneath this that there was the use of certain master construction contracts for unrelated projects that did not appear to be in the scope of the master contracts. The prime example here being that a stormwater construction contract was being used for a non-stormwater restoration project. It appears that these conflicting interpretations may have arisen in prior city administrations. It appears that the city has just continued to use these historical interpretations as time has gone on. These conflicting interpretations may have led in part to some of the issues that were identified in the Rio Vista restoration project and in our report in more detail. The second major finding in our report is that we determined that Commissioner Ben Sorensen did direct city staff as well as city vendors on the Rio Vista restoration project. There were certain communications from Commissioner Sorensen that were determined to be specific directions to city staff and or vendors, and other communications from Commissioner Sorensen taken by themselves may not have been considered direct direction to city staff or city vendors, but looking at the volume and the frequency of these communications taken as a whole, it appears that these communications did represent and were in effect directives to city staff and to city vendors. It does not appear that there was any malicious intent on the part of Commissioner Sorensen. Instead, it appeared that Commissioner Sorensen's intent was to assist the Rio Vista residents in his district that had been impacted by the sewage spills in the Rio Vista areas and in the park areas. During our process of reviewing information and corresponding and requesting additional information, Commissioner Sorensen did provide us with certain communications that appeared to be from his personal email or from his personal phone that appeared to be related to city business. The city was unaware of these communications, and those communications were not previously provided to us. And so there may be city records that may not be being retained for in accordance with public records. Our third major finding is in relation to the former Public Works Director, Mr. Raj Verma. And we determined that Mr. Verma did override city procurement policies and procedures. He directed city staff to bypass or disregard city policies and procedures in relation to the Rio Vista restoration project. It appears that this direction was mainly to get the project done. And it appears that did direct an expansion of the scope of the Rio Vista restoration project, including some of the scope creep items that are delineated out in our report without proper approvals pursuant to city procurement policies and procedures. Mr. Verma's actions, or rather inactions in some cases, in effect encouraged communications between city staff, in particular his lower level staff on the stormwater team, and Commissioner Sorensen, and may have created some of the issues as well identified throughout our report. We did determine that there was a failure in the tone at the top of the Public Works Department, and this failure in the tone at the top appeared to be a result of the poor tone that Mr. Verma established within his department, which included encouraging and directing city staff to bypass or disregard procurement policies and procedures, and creating a poor environment regarding the effectual city policies and procedures. Based on these major findings delineated in our report, we did identify 5 recommendations for improvement to the city's procurement policies and procedures. The first one of those being the city should consider providing additional training and clarification in regards to some of its procurement policies and procedures, specifically in relation to the change order approvals, as well as its task orders. There was some confusion in our interviews between staff, as well as conflicting interpretations of the city policies and procedures. In relation to the continuing contracts, we would also recommend that the city look at reviewing and revising its procurement policies and procedures to clarify additional items regarding the administrative contract renewals to ensure that there is clear, proper approval for any additional dollar amounts awarded during the administrative contract renewals, and as well as to provide training to the relevant personnel regarding these issues. We would also recommend that
Mr.
the city provide additional.
Kincaid,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kincaid, when you say continuing contracts, what are you suggesting there? That staff be allowed to expand the scope of a contract as work what's the word I'm thinking of? As work progresses. Well, as work progresses, but as change of conditions is experienced, and therefore there has to be a change in the scope. Are you suggesting that staff have the authority to make those decisions to change the scope?
No, sir. What we're referring to in this specific instance is The stormwater contract was a 2-year contract with 2 one-year renewals. In the City Commission agenda memorandum, there was originally a $4.5 million contract value that was assigned and funded on that original approval, or the original approval of the original term, the 2-year term of the contract. The city interpreted the procurement policies and procedures to allow that when the renewal came up, the 2 one-year renewals came up, that the $4.5 million figure originally approved could then also be reapproved in those administrative renewals. And so it was unclear, based off of our review of the city agenda memorandums, whether those additional funds, increasing a contract from 4.5 to over its total life of $9 million, of whether that additional $4.5 million was in fact authorized or approved by the city commission. And so we're just recommending that the city provide additional clarification in its policy and procedures, whether that is allowed or not, in order to ensure that the proper approvals are being noted and being followed.
Okay, continue.
In relation to commission inquiries, we would recommend that the city provide additional guidance to both the city commission as well as city personnel regarding what is considered appropriate levels of inquiries and interaction, specifically in relation to lower level city staff. We would recommend, in order to help correct the tone at the top, specifically at the Public Works Department, that the city provide additional guidance where appropriate regarding the city's whistleblower provisions in order to encourage employees where a internal control override may be an added issue, that they report those in a timely manner to the city via the whistleblower hotline in order to encourage that ethical atmosphere and help improve the tone at the top, and again, specifically at the Public Works Department. We would also recommend that the city review its policies and procedures in relation to its public records and public records retention for its adequacy, and provide additional training to staff where deemed necessary. We did provide a copy of our report, including these recommendations, to city management for their review. City management did provide a management response letter that is included as an appendix to our report. And in the management response letter, city management did agree with the 5 recommendations that are presented on the screen for you here today. And they have already taken actions to start implementing some of these recommendations at the city. And so with that, again, this was a very high-level summary for the commission today. And we wanted to provide time for the commission to ask questions that they may have of us, and we will answer those to the best of our ability.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? If they do, can we just hold back for a second? Because I would like to get, Commissioner Sorensen, do you want to wait to respond to this, or do you want me to go through public comment first? I'd like to give you a chance to respond to what was in the report.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy to wait till the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have a number of people that have signed up to speak, and so I'll call you 3 at a time. If you could just be on deck for when your time is next, and I'll read 3 names and then go from there. Mark Sneed, you signed up for CF2, but I think you meant CF1. Yeah. Yes, Mark Sneed, followed by Janet Scraper, and followed by Paul Chettle. So give you a couple minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Mark Sneed from the Rio Vista Civic Association. I'm the Vice President and Treasurer, and I'm speaking on behalf of the association. I wanted to do two things today. One is express the gratitude of the neighborhood to our commissioner for helping get this thing done so that we could actually enjoy our park last Saturday night at one of our most successful holiday parties for the neighborhood ever. I am convinced that the rate things were moving before, we would be struggling to get it ready for next year's holiday party if something hadn't been done. There were some of the comments in the audit report that I'd just like to provide the association's point of view on. And one was a comment by city staff that there was an unusual amount of contact between the commissioner and city staff in this process. I submit that this was a most unusual problem. That when our neighborhood was inundated with 200 million gallons of sewage, and 2 years later we were still looking at a bleak landscape in our parks, something had to be done. And we contacted our commissioner and pushed him, and he did what he could to keep things moving forward. There was a comment made that the neighborhood, us as association, as citizens, wanted it built back better than it was before. And to that I say, well, of course, if you're going to replace your house after a fire, you're going to make some improvements in it. And I think our job as an association and our job as citizens is to ask for the most we can, the best thing for our neighborhood. It's city staff's position or responsibility to tell us what we can and can't do, what's outside the scope, what isn't their budget for. So, we advocated very strongly for making it a beautiful place, a better beautiful place than it was. And it's not obviously up to us to decide what's in the contract, what's in the scope, what needs a change order. That's staff's responsibility, and their job is to come back and tell us, we can do this, we can't do that. The playground has been brought up as one particular instance of that. The only thing the association ever did in the selection of the playground was approve the plan that was shown to us. We did not participate in looking at alternatives. We did not look at particular vendors. We were given a plan and we said, we like that. And it is a beautiful playground, I will grant you. And may not be as good as the one at Sailboat Bend, but it's a good one. So I think there have been some misconceptions through this, and I just wanted to make these comments on behalf of our residents in the association. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Janet Scraper, followed by Paul Chettle, followed by Jeff Darlington. Janet, how are you, Janet?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for letting us speak. Well, I'm going to start the bottom of my comments first. I just want to say that I've worked with Commissioner Sorensen on dozens and dozens of issues over the last 5 years. And anyone who knows his style knows how he asks questions to try to get answers and to get the thing. And what he's trying to do is get, as Mike just said, tell us what we can do and what we can't do. He's not telling you to do it. He's asking you, what can we do? What can't we do? And anyone from staff, and I'll have to say that I know that the city manager and the city attorney are on lots of these emails, so they understand how he does it. And there's just no question that he's not directing staff. And if there's a staff that doesn't understand that, they need to talk to their direct support and go internally with this. And if there's a vendor who thinks a commissioner told him to do something, that's the vendor's problem, because everybody knows you don't spend money and do work without proper things. So I think it's really disingenuous to put Commissioner Sorensen on there. Now I wasted my time. Anyway, I mean, not my time. I need one more minute. And this audit highlights the impacts of Fort Lauderdale residents when the commission allows development to overwhelm our infrastructure and kicks pain for infrastructure investments down the road. This has been going on for decades, and this current city commission is no exception. The fact that the residents of Rio Vista is just one of many examples, including my neighborhood of Tarpon River, that have had to endure this increasingly common nightmare for over a year is just intolerable. The fact that their commissioner was doing everything he could try to think of to help them is commendable. The fact that he stepped into a procedural train wreck, no matter how good everyone's intentions, were not his fault alone. And this report is a perfect case study. It highlights all the processes the city needs to improve. There's no one to blame except the city commission as a whole and city staff leadership as a result of commission direction or lack thereof. I hope you see this incident as a wake-up call, and that it is, and take the opportunity to look inward and to reevaluate the effectiveness of your actions in relation to the goals that were created for our city by all of our citizens. And I must add, I find it deeply disturbing to hear talk about attorneys and investigations and things like that. Let's stop pointing fingers, because none of you will escape unscathed. Going down that road, it will ruin our city. We need to put a stop to that whole thing now. Let's work this out internally. The commission and staff need to stop playing the blame game. Let's huddle up. Put your nose to the grindstone, reaffirm the spirit of teamwork, and come up with solutions. We need to work together in the spirit of cooperation and stop this.
Okay, thank you so much. Paul Chettle, hi Paul, followed by Jeff Darlington, followed by Charlie King.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission, City Manager. My point is about context. You have an $895 million budget. You have 2,700 employees. You pay them $235 million a year in wages and salary. There's a public record request by Dan Schutz from Sun Sentinel. It was 1,249 pages, and it identified all the communication that was going on. Your project manager was included in that in 294 instances. You were in that 373 times. If anybody had any opportunity at the beginning, the middle, or the end of this to make any changes to how this project was operating, it was you. You were on all the communication. There were 5 recommendations. I would argue that these 5 recommendations are applicable to more than just one project. Last night, Commissioner Glassman suggested that there was a investigation, Broward County, whatever. Their track record of the last 6 years is nothing but window dressing. People seem to be operating with impunity on a daily basis. Mr. City Manager, you are our last line of defense. There's 189,000 of us that live in this 36 square mile little city. This is our home. You are our last line of defense. They set policy, you manage the city. Clear as day. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's why I supported you to be in that job. Okay, you have 2,700 employees. If you can't find a competent person to run this Mickey Mouse little project of a park that's 0.8 of an acre and a couple of roads and a couple of other things that are tied to a consent order, then we need to make some changes. Somebody's got to do a better job. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jeff Darlington, followed by Charlie King, followed by Marilyn.
That guy's incredible with numbers. That was, Commission, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to speak quickly on the difficult task from my perspective that Commissioner Sorensen faced through this process. And you all, directly or indirectly, face pressure and stress through the sewage breaks in Rio Vista. I would say after the sewage washed away, that there was still some mess that needed to be cleaned up. And in many ways, that's when we as neighbors felt a little bit forgotten at times. I live on Hector Park on Ponce de Leon Drive. We had a rubble road with damaged driveways for more than a year, with work moving at a very frustrating pace. And last year on this day, I couldn't even access my driveway during business hours. I understand this is part of the project, but months passed with limited work, difficulty leaving our driveways or getting onto our streets as stormwater pipes were installed. Again, it was about bettering the infrastructure. To a degree, we understood the pace at which it went. But none of this had to do with narrowing of roads or raised roads or playgrounds at this point. It was about weeks passing with no work at all. And for over a year, we had limited access to the street with very little explanation from the city. Commissioner Sorensen eventually started to provide us with updates that were provided to him. He gave us 10 deadlines starting around February. All 10 of those deadlines were missed. And I'm sure Commissioner Sorensen felt our frustration directed toward him when, again, it wasn't necessarily him doing the work. I don't know, if not for Commissioner Sorensen, if we would even be done right now. I didn't meet Commissioner Sorensen until my street turned into a pretty embarrassing place to live, but I'm glad that I did. He kept us at least feeling like we would at some point get our street back to looking like it did before the sewage break. I'm not sure it's there yet, but Commissioner Sorensen has done at least his part to try. So just wanted to thank him for his work at least getting us to this point. Thank you, Commissioner.
Great, thank you so much. Charles King, followed by Marilyn Romano, followed by Jeff Burns.
Before we get to Ben, just allow me to step on John P. Jack Seiler's political grave and give him the full credit for why there's sewage running in our neighborhoods and the 9 years of neglect that he inflicted on this community, replacing one major sewer, I think it was 3 times. I mean, just ridiculous. So this is where we are, where we're doing drastic actions, I mean, we get down to I'm sure that Ben's under pressure to get this done, and it took a long time, but, I understand raising roads and narrowing streets. We all want that for our neighborhoods. Where I think it takes a little bit of a darker turn is I hear that they're removing parking spaces and putting in some sort of super expensive European playset that the rest of the city doesn't have. I mean, so they're trying to get something super expensive and then denying access to the city and doing this. All of these things required public hearings, and then just wipe that whole thing away and say, well, it's different this time, we want it or something. So I think that's wrong. I think the excuses I've heard from his supporters are that he wasn't trained properly as a commissioner or something. I mean, he went to law school. He's an ordained minister. He's a motivational speaker. He's in the Navy. I mean, it sounds like he should know something about ethics here, as far as, or that this vendor should have known better than to listen to him. He got taken by an ordained minister. This guy must be a huge fool or something. But I'm pretty sure this guy's going to get his money in the end. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to bet any one of you that he doesn't, because I really think he's going to get it. I think he's got a lot of evidence on his side. To me, they're like, how did he do this? How did he pull this thing off? It's like he did it with his phone. That's what people do. This is the Spanish prisoner. This is the Nigerian prince. This is getting somebody to do something and then telling him you will do X, and then you never do it, and you keep what they gave you. So, basically, I think you guys should wash the stink off yourselves a little bit that he's brought on the city for this. I didn't participate in this. This isn't how I think things should be done. I'm sure most people in Rio Vista, they enjoy what they got, but they don't like what he did. So, I mean, I'd say you should censure him and just say this is wrong. From what I read in the newspaper and hear on the radio, he's admitting no wrongdoing. He's saying that he took this guy and it's his own fault. I don't agree with that, and I think people, over the last year, we have had a lot of people move to this city from all over the country, fleeing horrible government. They're coming here because they think we have some better government here. And, is this a good example of it? That you just throw the rule book out the window and do as you please? I'd like to see a censure. It's just a small measure, but maybe it'll help you legally, or whatever investigations go on, that you guys don't agree with this. Otherwise, you're sort of saying, this is how we do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Marilyn Romano, followed by Jeff Burns, followed by Roman Courier.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Marilyn Romano. I'm the president of the Harbordale Civic Association. I read this report over the weekend, and when I calmed down, I read it again. And I object to a number of things in this report, this forensic report, so-called. Well, first of all, when I think of a forensic report, I think, well, did somebody take the money and go to Bahamas? Did somebody take a bribe? Did the city pay for something that they didn't get? Was somebody's brother-in-law got the contract? What happened here that is the subject matter of this forensic report? And all I heard from this report, or all I saw in this report, was buried in the back of the report that this was a very complicated project. Very complicated. It had multiple funding sources. It had timelines that had to be adhered to, some of which were conflicting. There was poop running in the street. Everybody was upset. And what I read was, people were trying to get results, were trying to get to a resolution. The commissioner was doing his best to work for his constituents. That's his job. That's why we love him so much. He works hard for us to get a result, to get progress, to get things done. There were 1,000 eyes on this project, all right? There were eyes in the staff, there were eyes in the Public Works Department, there were eyes in the procurement department, the city manager's eyes were on it, your eyes were on it. believe it or not. You approved these things. Maybe you didn't read the fine print down on the bottom, and sometimes you're too busy to read all the fine print, but all of the appropriate things were done. What happened was, from what I read from this audit, is that the work got ahead of the paperwork. So let me ask you something. You guys are all enamored of P3 projects. In a P3 project, where a private entity would have been doing this project, if the work ran ahead of the paperwork, the manager would have said, okay, I'm going to get the paperwork and we're going to do it and we're going to get it done, because the project needed to get done. And the project was the goal here, getting the project done. So I really think that, you know, this whole tone of this report that we have to sanction this person and this person didn't do it right. And yes, there were procedural things that you can address and you should address. I've worked in a bureaucracy and procedure is very important. But I object to the tone that people did things with malice of intention. I don't think there was any malice of intention here. And I hope that we don't turn this into a circus, because, again, we find that our commissioner works very hard for us, and we're very appreciative of the work he does, and I don't think he deserves some of this bad vibe that he's getting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Burns, followed by Roman Courier, followed by Anthony Fasano.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commission. My name is Jeff Burns. I'm here before you today as a 12-year resident of Rio Vista. When I had heard that Commissioner Sorensen was going to be the subject of this report that placed a lot of his values in the question, I felt compelled to come before you today and speak. You know, at the end of the day, you're all up here because you care deeply about your community, right? And you're all up here because you believe in public service. I think that you can all agree with me that that's the epitome of Ben Sorensen. Now, everybody has their different leadership strategies and their different leadership technique, if you will. Ben's a doer, right? Ben gets in the weeds. I mean, for crying out loud, the guy had an office down at the homeless camp in downtown for a long period of time because he wanted to understand the issue. What I know of what happened in Rio Vista and what I know of what our community dealt with, and I can go on I can go on the record to make it very clear, nobody there was happy about what was going on. We were not pleased. There was a long period of time. People still are not pleased with the status of their streets. But what I'll tell you is that this guy was readily available and accessible, and he wanted to understand what needed to be done in order to help resolve the issue, and that's what you want in a city leader. And so for that, you know, I want to thank Commissioner Sorensen for being there for us. I had a house at the time on Ponce de Leon, and I can tell you, I went several weeks without being able to do a showing. We were selling the house at the time. And it was an embarrassing situation, but knowing that he was on the job made us all feel a lot better. And no matter what the outcome is, I know that you know, he'll work hard to help resolve whatever it is, and you know, help work with staff to bring forth a resolution to whatever it is that our community is struggling with. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Roman, followed by Anthony Fasano, followed by Eli Brandt.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. My name is Roman Courier, and I'm here on behalf of Hinterland. Now that you have the audit, you now know what Hinterland had expressed to you on day one, which is it had written approval from the senior engineer on the project, senior management manager, that the project had been approved. You had approval from the Public Works Director, Mr. Verma, that the project had been approved. And you had approval, confirmation in writing again from Mr. Sorensen that the project had been approved, and for the contractor to go forward and get the project done as quickly as possible. The emails that were going back and forth included the city manager's office. They knew what was going on. It's impossible to imagine that you could take the position now that the city didn't realize of the changes in the project. And it also is unrealistic to suggest that a project that has thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment sitting at the location on any given day, that's how much it costs to have the equipment located there, could stop that project in midstream because the engineers had determined that there was an issue with the plans, and then sit back and wait for the commission to make the determination whether they're going to approve it or not, when the engineers know what needs to be done and needs to get it approved, and they did that in this case. Now, that's the information you guys know. What you may not realize at this point in time is that there are numerous small businesses that are suffering because the city is sitting on the $871,000 that it refuses to pay for the work that was done.
Mr. Courier, you realize we're represented by counsel on this?
This is
Did you represent Hinterland, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Did you advise me or any of our counsel that you were going to come talk to my client?
No,
To pitch your case?
It's a public forum.
Yeah, but you're not here as a citizen, you're here representing Hinterland, correct?
I'm here as a representative of Hinterland.
You're here? Right, exactly. Do you live in the city of Fort Lauderdale?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. So you did not advise me and you did not advise our counsel that you were going to come here and speak to my client. So I suggest, commissioners, you can listen to him if you want to, but no comments are to be made.
I don't think comments are generally made anyways. That's why it's a public forum. That's why it's permissible.
You're not here as a member of the public, you're here as a representative of Hinterland. You don't even live in the
Hinterland
city
is
of
a
Fort Lauderdale.
public.
You have a forum for this, you're choosing to go outside the forum, and you did not advise counsel. Are you telling me it's appropriate to talk to my client without advising me or my counsel?
Well, it is in a public forum where you're present anyway.
It's okay for your client to, not you.
All right, why don't you conclude your remarks?
With numerous small businesses that are suffering because they've had to expend substantial amounts of money to do the work, and now they can't pay to get the work paid off for the money that they've had to use to get the work done to begin with. So, it's Christmas time now. They're unable to make the payments. You guys are essentially the Grinch that are stealing the Christmases from the families of these small businesses. And we are asking you guys to get this thing approved because you now see that they received all the necessary approvals that you could have expected them to rely upon in order to move forward with the project. Thank you.
Wait, don't go away. Yeah. I have a question to ask you.
Me too.
I really don't recommend.
Please don't ask him questions.
From
I can give you.
Perspective, I don't recommend it either.
I can give you the city's position. We've already articulated our position on what he's stated. They have responsibilities on their end as well.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
If we do have a question, because, for instance, Marilyn testified that we approved everything, we knew everything, we maybe didn't read all the fine print. I want to make sure that, is that just true? Did we approve everything, not read the fine print as she said?
No, not at all.
Thank you. I just want to make that really clear.
No, that bothered me as well, so.
It's important.
I want to talk, but.
I know, we'd have the time to respond.
Yeah, but I think this is important because someone got up there and publicly said we did something.
I know, okay.
And that we didn't read everything.
Well, I know you did.
Well, I did. That's why
I did too.
That's why I'm taking exception at the comment that we approved everything and
We
didn't
all
read
do
it.
our homework, Mayor. I just think some speak more than others. And had this document come across any of our desks, I think we would have read it in its entirety and responded appropriately. So for those kind of comments to be made to make a fact or a point, to me is why I get so disturbed when certain groups come in here and, oppose or try to support things. I mean, just tell the truth.
Okay, Mr. Fasano, followed by Eli Brand, and wrap it up with Jacqueline Scott. If there's anybody else that wants to speak, please let the clerk know at the back of the room. Thank you. Mr. Fasano.
Good afternoon,
How are
Mayor,
you?
Commissioners. My name is Anthony Fasano, and I'm here to voice my support for Commissioner Sorensen. I'm not here to discuss details of the situation that I'm not really privy to, but I'm here to speak on my experiences with Commissioner Sorensen and his character. When the sewer broke in front of my home at about 1 in the morning, I called emergency services to notify them. I sat on my balcony smelling the sewage and witnessing what was unfolding, and 30 minutes later, I see Commissioner Sorensen wading through raw sewage to assess the situation. I know I wasn't willing to do that, but he was. I truly believe Ben has our community and our district in his heart, and he has love for our city. I thought he was called in that position by lack of support and leadership and jobs done by the city staff. And anything that he did do was out of frustration in trying to help his commission. I feel his frustration as well because my property was damaged from the sewer break and the cleanup efforts, and I've still not been reimbursed for those damages. And this is 2 years later. The situation was definitely not handled properly, but it's not due to Ben's lack of effort. He's always open and accessible, and we appreciate him in our district.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Mr. Brand, followed by Jackie Scott.
Eli Brand, cancer surgeon and 19-year resident of Ponce de Leon, formerly known as Poop de Leon. I just wish to add a little color to what's been said. The facts are for you to determine. I did have some comments about...
It's now called Paradise de Leon, right?
I did have some comments about hinterland, but given the legal nature of the situation, they will...
Can you speak up, Mr. Brand, a little bit?
Absolutely. So when the sewage came down my driveway, I filed paperwork and pictures and went through all the hoops to get some response and remediation from the city. 6 months later, no response. When the harmonization of the driveway was necessary, I took pictures, I showed what needed to be done. I wanted restoration of the swale in the driveway to what it had been before. Nothing was done. But when I called Ben Sorensen, he was there. And when I said, Ben, what can we do about this? He always said, I don't know what the rules are. I will look into it. He never acted as a proxy for other members of the commission or the city in any way. He acted as a representative for me, and he did the right thing. And sometimes Ben is not what he appears. I don't think we should let the maxim, no good deed goes unpunished, become true here. And it might be wise for every new ordinance that you enact to maybe eliminate 2, so we don't have so many hoops to jump through. But I will say, Ben is not always what he appears. This weekend, on a Saturday night, he was an obese man giving away things for free. No, he did not go to Sweden and steal playground equipment. But of all the public officials I've worked with in many, many cities through my lifetime, he is the most honorable and the most sincere and the most approachable. I applaud Ben Sorensen.
Thank you, sir. Finally, Jackie Scott.
Is that kind of like last but not least? Thank you, commissioners. It's a fact. I've been coming down to City Hall since the 1980s, and I have sat and spent a lot of time advocating on behalf of my neighborhood and other issues, and I've seen a lot of different commissions. And I want to tell you right now, it's a fact, in my opinion, you are the finest commission we have ever had since the 1980s when it comes to advocacy and working for the people. And I appreciate every single one of you. I also want to say that I was around and struggling trying to get things done before we had districts. You had Bob Cox, you had, I'm trying to think of all the different people, Jim Noggle, all the different people that were involved, but we went to districts. I saw it all. And I can tell you, it's a fact, in my opinion, Ben Sorensen is the best commissioner District 4 has ever had. He's honest, he pays attention, he advocates, and I think he does his best to work with all of you. And I feel a little bit like this is a little bit of a hatchet job, not on your part, but his whole situation nauseates me at best. And I hope that we can get through this so that you as a commission can move forward, put this behind you, and continue the good work that all of you do. And Ben, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Okay. Commissioner Sorensen, do you have any comments?
I'll defer to my colleagues, and I'll end. Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Just so that there's some clarity here, before I open it up to the other commissioners, it was my understanding that the purpose of this inquiry was to try to determine how it is that a claim was made against the city for almost $900,000 worth of charges that we had been told had not been authorized by this commission. And so an internal investigation was authorized to determine what the pathway was that brought this about. So I don't think that it was intended to target any particular commissioner or staff member, but really just to see how we got to where we are, because that's a significant amount of money. In the end, the folks that did the audit drew out facts, and whether or not we agree with their conclusions is a matter for this commission to take up. But I think putting it all in perspective, I just want everyone to understand that that was the reason for this, and now this is the result. So I'd first like to ask the Vice Mayor if she has any comments with regard to anything that was said today or part of the
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ben, for everything you do for our city and your district. I know you did not mean there was no malicious intent on your behalf. I know you were in a unique situation that we had never experienced before, and I know we are also operating under, I don't want to say emergency order, but was it an emergency work order? I mean, maybe, things were a little bit different. Maybe it wasn't, procedure as normal in this case, but, neither here nor there. I don't think I'm really here to judge you and what you did. I think that could be, some other body or somebody else. I know, we all willingly came back from our commission breaks and came back to discuss this issue and vote on it and make sure that your neighborhood received the park that they needed and any mitigation that they needed to address the sewage spill. I mean, that had to happen. So I know you were leading that charge. And so I was happy to come back and vote yes to support that project. Like I said, I don't think my role here today is to judge what somebody did. Another commissioner, I think you did it with the right intentions. Should we, look at the 5 suggestions that were made from this forensic audit? Yes. Can we all, as an organization and a body, improve our procedures? Yes, I'm sure we can. So I know we will look at that and come up with best practices. Together as a body, as a commission, along with Chris, the city manager. I think certainly there are ways we can improve. Like I said, I know this was difficult for your neighborhood. I feel the passion from your neighbors because I also, in District 1, am just involved with my neighbors, and I feel the passion with them also. And I do just want to say, not to change the topic, but I'm thankful I went by and I looked at this park and I saw that it was a lovely improvement, a lovely piece of property with the playground. I just want you to know that my district has the same passion for our 20-acre park up in District 1, and we have the same passion about it. So I really hope this body knows that and understands it, and really when the time comes to vote on what's best for each of our districts, I hope we really listen to each other and the people that live in those districts. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McKenzie? No comment. Commissioner Glassman?
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. And I want to also begin by echoing a lot of the sentiment that the Vice Mayor just stated, because, Ben, you're a good man with a big, beautiful heart, and everyone knows how much you care about people in your district. And I just want to start off by saying that. That's common knowledge. Just a few comments, and I don't want to get, I share some of Commissioner McKenzie's reticence about testifying too much or saying too much, and even our city attorney has mentioned that maybe that's not a great idea. But I just wanted to say that, and I understand some of the limitations, and gentlemen from CRI, thank you for what you did. For me, it was an incomplete report, though, I have to be honest, because of so many of the key people that were not interviewed. Too many important people that touched this issue were just absent. And I don't need to go through the whole list of people because it's in the report, but I found that made the report lacking. Because if I'm going to be given a forensic audit, I want to see all of the details. I want to read much more than I was able to read here. That being said, I don't want to minimize what's in this audit, what's in this report. I think there are significant findings. I think we have to take it very seriously. But then again, we have to pay attention and make sure that whatever we think happened does not happen again. So I would be curious as to what those next steps are. I want to make sure that we correct whatever we find is at fault here. And I want to just focus on those kinds of controls. And then just lastly, I want to say to Alan, because I have mentioned that I think our charter review board should come back once in a while. When I look at some of the language that's in our charter, and I look at some of the issues that have been brought up by CRI, I really do think that our charter review board has to look at section 3.07, which is dealing with not to direct appointment of employees, and section 308, which talks about forfeiture of office and grounds for removal of office from office, and also section 6.06, city commission involvement prohibited. Because I'm finding that the level of actions, perhaps, and if it did happen, or if it would happen in the future, this is a very, these three sections of our charter are very strong. And I just don't know if the level of activity meets that threshold, or if it should. But I just want to have the Charter Review Board take a look at these three sections, because it might be language that needs to be changed there. But again,
what are you recommending? What do you mean change?
well, again, I don't want to get into all of that right now. I'm just saying if you can read this on your own, section 3.07, section 3.08, and section 6.06. If you look at those three sections, the language is just, I think, very strong, and I just don't know if it has application in what we've read in this audit, or if it should have application. These are decisions and questions that are beyond my pay grade. I'm not going to judge, and I'm not going to make reference in terms of what I've seen in this report and how that fits that. But I just think that that's something that our Charter Review Board should be meeting and discussing, along with some of the other issues that have bubbled up over the last few years. But again, I just want to make sure that this has been a learning experience for everyone, and that we just ensure that we don't find ourselves in this situation again. I understand, Mayor, why we are here, because of we did receive a legal letter from Hinterland, and we did have questions about, as you said, that $800,000+. So that triggered what happened. Now we are told what happened, but I don't really feel that we know exactly what happened for the reasons that I said. Too much of the language in the forensic audit really was difficult for me to believe. I found a lot of it incredulous. The back and forth, well, you should do this, no, you should do that, your department should do this, we don't build this, you do that. There's so much of that in this audit that I just find not 100% believable. And as I said, too many key people were not interviewed for a variety of reasons, and yet they were the people that probably have a lot of information to give. So that's about all I really feel comfortable saying at this point. But let's hopefully move on, because I do agree with Jackie Scott. This is the best commission that's ever served the city of Fort Lauderdale. So I want us to move forward from here, and I say that with all modesty, of course. But I do believe that we do need to move forward on this as a team, and continue the good work that we have been doing for the city of Fort Lauderdale. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, great. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Actually, how often does the Charter Review Board meet, or have they met? It's my understanding they haven't met in a while. It's been a couple of years.
They meet at our request. There's no regularly scheduled meeting. If we have certain questions that we want them to resolve, that's when they meet.
It's pre-pandemic at this point since they've met.
Excuse me?
Pre-pandemic,
Yeah,
so it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but there's been no charge given to them to meet with regard to certain issues. So
So we're giving them a charge now?
we could.
Just want to make sure we.
Ellen always keeps a running list.
Let's
so
first
it's-
hear what everyone has to
Okay.
say before
Thank you.
making decisions. All right, so we have this report, and I want to thank Carr, Riggs, and Ingram for the work that they did on our behalf. I believe that while it may not be 100% complete, I think you did a yeoman's job in trying to determine, some of the facts and the paths that were followed whether it be any of the persons that you mentioned in your report. So again, thank you. So the thing is that, I think there's a general consensus that, Commissioner Sorensen, being a zealous advocate on behalf of his community, certainly did what he could do to try to move a project along that seemed to be languishing. I also got calls from people in his neighborhood to do the same exact thing. And so we may have each approached the solution differently. I don't think anyone can fault Commissioner Sorensen for trying to do the right thing. And I think that, when it comes to trying to help our districts and anyone in the city, I know that this commission is very proactive and has really shown exceptional history in working on behalf of the city. I too think that this is one of the most exceptional commissions that I've ever served on, and I just want to say that we have a community that expects results, and every year that I serve on this commission, more and more and more do I see this community expecting more from their commissioner and from their mayor. When I was first on this commission back in 2003, I would get 2 emails a week. Now I get two emails a minute, so it seems. I mean, it's just a very, very proactive and engaged community that really wants to do good for their neighborhoods and for the city, and we're here to help. And that's what we ran on, and we're public servants, and that's what the goal here is, to work with our members of our community. Now, the job in Rio Vista was no mean feat. I mean, it was a mess, and while I didn't wade through the sewage like the commissioner did, we all certainly paid visits over there and saw the impact that it had to the neighborhood, and it was definitely a sorry episode of our city. Now, there will be questions which we don't want to get into today because it is in litigation, but there'll be questions as to whether or not this particular contractor had the right to rely on any representations made by a commissioner when it came to the authority to proceed with work that had not yet been approved by the city commission. And I agree with Commissioner Glassman that the type of work that we see here today that was performed by Hinterland had not been approved by the commission. And the question is, did it need the commission approval? Was city staff authorized to make those decisions? And could Hinterland reasonably rely upon the representations by a commissioner as having the authority to proceed with work? Those are all questions that are going to come up in the litigation, and I hope that they will be resolved in favor of the city, because I do believe that this city has procedures. They must be followed, and they cannot be violated, because that's our public responsibility to abide by the law. So having said that, Commissioner Sorensen did not seek out any personal financial gain in this undertaking. In fact, he suffered a lot by spending many, many hours dealing with these issues away from his family and away from his other work. So I don't think he can be faulted for thinking that any of his efforts were for personal gain. And I don't think it was for any gain for any relative or friend. It was for his community. And that's how I see it. Now, one may argue that some of his actions may have exceeded the bounds of his authority, and we can certainly talk about that. Maybe that's a charter issue, but certainly we know that it was done with the intention to advance the betterment of his neighborhood and the community, and no one can fault the commissioner for that. So. Now, when it comes to how we're supposed to deal with this, I disagree with the consultant as to what the remedies are. I appreciate those clauses being presented to us, but I don't think they're in any way appropriate to the type of situation we have here today. I don't believe in censure. I don't think that's what we're here for. We're not here to judge one another, but at the same time, I do know that this has brought to it a head a recurring matter that continues to exist in our city, and that is, where are the boundaries as a commissioner, as a mayor? What are the boundaries? And we know, as we delve more and more into this matter, we're being told what those boundaries are. We're being told that there's so much we can do, and once you bring it to the attention of a city staff member, and that city staff member is only the city manager, and it's only through him that we can direct city staff, and that's it. And we now know that, and we'll learn from that, and that's the way it's run here. Now, we may be frustrated. I had people call me from Rio Vista and say, "Why isn't this road finished? What's taking so long?" And all I can do is say, "City manager, this is what I'm hearing," and then that's the most we can do. Unfortunately, that's the way our city is run. It's just not a strong mayor form of government. It's a city manager run government. And I have to say that our city manager is probably one of the best city managers I've ever dealt with in this city. He does an amazing job trying to tackle hundreds of issues on an ongoing basis, and I think he did an immensely successful job in trying to ensure that this project in Rio Vista was ultimately completed and as best as he could, considering that he had many, many factors to deal with that were very complicated. So having said that, that concludes the remarks of the commission. So Commissioner Sorensen, would you like to wrap it up?
Yeah, I would. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to each of my commissioners, fellow commissioners, and Vice Mayor for your heartfelt words. And want to thank you for your teamwork on what was such a tough, trying project and time in my district. I'd also like to thank Carr, Riggs, and Ingram for their report and their work, the hours they put into it, as well as the city auditor for your work and diligence on this, as well as all the city employees who were interviewed and participated in this analysis. I've thoroughly reviewed the report, and I take it very seriously, every word of it. 2 years ago, we went through, as has been shared, this horrific experience of 200 million gallons of raw sewage in our streets and homes and parks and yards, and we all face something I hope we never have to face again. Like I think each person in this room and our fantastic city staff, I tried to do everything possible, do my best to help those in need, not only during this sewage break, but then layered on top of that, this global pandemic. And there are clearly issues that we can handle better and that I can handle better. I will take the lessons that I've learned through this analysis, this report, the findings, and apply to my work as a public servant to be better, to do better, to better understand the impact of my words at times. Reading this report, and from our conversations here, I know I need to improve and do better in how I communicate. And it's important learning for me and hopefully can be helpful to all of us as we just kind of think through communicating and engaging. I want to thank all the folks who said such nice things about me. Means a lot. I'm proud to sit up here with each of you, and it means a lot to be honored to be able to do that. We're a team up here, and I just appreciate the chance to work together and appreciate how you all ran to help the residents of our neighborhood. And you all did that, whether it was in person, whether it was through meetings, and that matters, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to have that opportunity to continue to help and work together. So, Mayor, thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. Any further comments from the commission? I don't think there's any further direction at this point that we're interested in taking. So I appreciate, Chris, for your undertaking this investigation, so we know exactly what's there. And now, Mr. Boileau, I guess this whole matter rests in your lap to try to resolve it in the best interest of the city.
We'll do that on that end, and obviously, as the manager had recommended in his response, which we all agree with, internally, we'll be going through some training and refocusing on making sure everybody's on the same page with procedures and getting that all straightened out so that, we don't have a repeat.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Mayor, may I just have, this is John Herbst. Just one last word, Mayor. I would like to personally thank Cars, Riggs, and Ingram for the work that they did, as well as the city clerk's office and Megan from my office. There were thousands of emails, text messages, and so forth that had to be gathered, sorted, and provided back and forth. It was a huge undertaking on everybody's part. So, again, I want to thank everybody involved with this. And the one other thing I would say, and I'm going to say this on behalf of all staff throughout the city, is I don't think as a commission you realize the intense pressure your statements put on city employees. When the commission says we're the can-do commission, that filters down to staff. And they don't understand the nuances, which of course you mean results with integrity. They see results, and staff is sometimes motivated to cut corners to get things done. And I know you don't like hearing that, but I'm going to be the messenger and say, understand your messages have consequences, and your frustration gets filtered down to them in ways that aren't always going to lead to the outcomes that you expect. So, thank you.
So the message is, no matter what we say, don't listen to us. No.
Say it gently.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And you know what? I'm remiss. I did not realize that your staff was so fully engaged in trying to assist with our consultants. So thank you again, and everybody on your staff. I know it was a lot of staff hours devoted to this, so thank you again for all the work that your office did. Okay, any further comments? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is the quarterly. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I appreciate everyone participating. This is the quarterly investment report for period ending September 30th, 2021. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Susan.
Good afternoon, Mayor. And
What's the good news?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. Susan Grant, Finance Director, and just here to report on our quarterly investment portfolio, which for both the quarter and the fiscal year to date exceeded the benchmarks. So that's good news. Typically, we don't talk necessarily about the pension funds, but I wanted to talk a little bit about those. They're managed by separate boards, but the good news is both the General Employee Pension Plan and the Police and Fire exceeded their actuarial assumptions, and the good news in that is the impact is lower city contributions in the upcoming years. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Richard Pengali with our investment advisors are here, and he could give you a market update if you'd like, or answer any questions along with me.
Sure. Why don't you give us a market update?
There you go.
What's happening on Wall Street? What's the bull saying?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Today. Yeah. Well,
We have any mad money to take home today? Is that what you?
Well, I'll talk generally about, I guess, sort of the cash, which is the kind of the main part that we focus on.
And try to speak it more into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. And I'm a low speaker anyway. Yeah, generally, the market has been reacting to some headwinds, right? This emerging Omicron variant, which, we don't really know all of the details yet, but we already seen some reaction in a lot of the countries that have very strict COVID policies where they immediately shut the doors down, which sort of forecasts more supply chain issues down the line. So there's sort of a headwind out there. Also, the Fed has changed its tone. It's looking to speed up its tapering and potentially start raising interest rates faster going into the next year. So, with these headwinds on the horizon, it sort of is going to be a challenge to the equity markets, and the great returns we saw this year. These are challenges for them potentially next year. For your cash portfolio, it actually bodes well. For years now, we've been waiting on the Fed to start raising interest rates, and the market thinks that we could see as many as 2 to 3 interest rate hikes next year, which would, double or triple the level of income that you're seeing in your cash portfolio. So it's sort of a bit of mixed news depending if you're looking at your longer portfolios versus your cash portfolio.
So are you suggesting that we reduce our equity position and increase our cash position in order to benefit from the increase in interest rates?
Well, the two funds that are managed by the city in-house, the cash portfolio has no equity in it, and no equity is allowed in that portfolio by the policy. Your OPEB portfolio is basically managed in a passive 60-40 strategy, where it's when cash is available, it's invested. The portfolio is rebalanced to keep the allocation. So, there's no active equity-related strategy associated with those portfolios. I can't comment on the pension portfolios.
You can't comment on what?
The pension portfolios.
Okay. So the city has no equity investment then?
In your cash portfolio, you do not. For your operating funds, you do not. You're not allowed to invest in equities.
Okay, so the discussion regarding the stock market really doesn't affect us. It's just the interest rates that would affect us.
Correct. For
That
your
would
cash.
and that could only benefit us because you're saying that there may be increase in interest rates over the next 12 months.
Correct. You do have an OPEB portfolio, and that does have equities in it, but that strategy, like I said, is a passive strategy, meaning that the allocations are set and they're fixed. You have index funds in those portfolios, and you keep the percentage allocations the same. So you asked a question about should we reduce here or increase there. That happens on an automatic basis. You're not sort of moving around trying to guess at where the market is.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions? Because this Omicron variant only materialized in the last 2 weeks, so this is a report for the last 90 days.
Correct.
And I understand as I'm looking at the stock market, it jumped up 3% today. So I just think that was a temporary dip, as far as any equity impact that our portfolio sustained. So, but your opinion is that interest rates are going to go up and that we need to anticipate a increase in our earnings over the next 12 months. Correct?
We're hoping that. Again, if the Fed sort of continues on its current course, that seems to be where they're heading towards. And like I said, that would be positive news, and would increase the earnings potentially. But yeah, it's going to be depending on what the Fed actually does with interest rates.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? There being none, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commission reports. Vice Mayor, do you have any reports?
Of course she does.
Gosh, there's a lot been going on.
Just for the occasion.
Oh, no. Yes. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. And thank you, Phil, for Light Up the Galt. Oh, and Steve, thank you for coming out there with me.
Apologize.
It's okay. No one has to apologize because it was pouring.
Nobody's supposed to be
Steve and I were quacking around and doing our best. But thank you, staff.
The alcohol helped. It really did.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Well,
Thank you.
it was a beautiful night still, lots of awnings, and so thank you. And looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow at the dedication of the little park area, P.O.'s Place, not officially a park, but a plaque and a little celebration. And then tomorrow night,
That's for P.O. Rossi, right?
P.O.I. Racy in the Galt. Yes, we will be remembering him tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So hopefully everyone on the commission is invited. So look forward to seeing you down in District 1. A lot of holiday parties. Looking forward to seeing the police tomorrow night at their party. Broward League of Cities, you all are invited to that as well if you are interested. It's at the 2. Did you see that, Commissioner?
At Cambria Hotel.
Cambria, yes. So hope you can walk
that in
on
District
over.
2?
Yes, it is. It's right across the street from the Auberge.
Yes.
Yes,
And
I went.
that's open now too, right?
Dune has reopened under new ownership.
Yeah, I read that.
Michelin star chef, yes.
Read about that. Did you try it yet?
I will be attending in the next week or so, I believe.
That was my spot.
Okay, yes, I would like to go when that reopens as well. Just lots of holiday parties, so I think that's it for me. Yeah, just a lot going on. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner McKenzie?
Oh, you going in that order? I don't normally do this, but I do have a couple issues. And I don't have the flyer, and maybe some of you have seen it in your mailboxes. It's right there. Can you put it up on the screen? Sure. There's a flyer that's going out to our residents, and it has a picture of our governor, and it's talking about home improvement opportunities and, how you can apply. I think they're preying on the vulnerable. At the very, very bottom of the flyer, it says that it's clearly not a government process.
Okay.
But you can barely see it. But when it comes to your home, there's a picture of your house on the flyer. I got it at my house. Folks got it in Lauderdale. It's
Every resident
it's getting it.
gets a picture of their house?
Your house is there.
Really?
Yeah, my house was there.
The governor?
And all my seniors are calling me because they don't know if it's true information, because I think it goes back to Y Green and the PACE program that we kind of promoted. And so it gives other prayers, in my opinion, an opportunity to pray on our residents. And what happens is you'll find someone, Commissioner Sorensen, like in your district, they called me a couple days ago, 90-something-year-old lady over by Stranahan, took the Y Green product, thought she was getting a roof, and now $86,000 later, she has a lien on her home, but her biggest contention was it said it was a government process, and not only do we participate in it in terms of rolling it out as a campaign, Broward County allows them to pay it back on their taxes.
Is this Mr. Roach's house?
Yes. What's on the back?
I don't know, but that's not the point. The point is this. These folks are preying on us, Alan. I'm wondering what is it that we can do, and I also want to see what we can do specifically with Y Green and PACE to disassociate ourselves with it, because this lady is not the only person that has come to me and talked about their bad experiences with Y Green and PACE. But we rolled this out under the last city manager and commission, and I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. And I talked to our financial staff here, and they talked about the interest rates being so high. So it's actually highway robbery to our residents, especially our seniors who think they got to answer the phone every time it rings. They got to answer the door every time there's a knock, and every piece of mail is a piece of mail that's very important to them, their light bill, their water bill, things of that nature, and they're being preyed on. So I want us as a commission to delve into this and see what we can do to kind of stop this.
What do you suggest?
Who mails this out?
I don't know.
Excuse me?
Who mailed this out? Who does it come from?
It's from a private company, but they'll put breaking news, new Florida County approved program to help homeowners get new windows, roofs, and more.
Well, Broward County should probably be a little upset about the flag. It
Well,
mentions them.
But they're not gonna go this deep in the weeds like we do. You, by your own admission, we're the best commission.
This is Why Green that's doing this?
This is not a Y agreement. This is another program. So
Another
this is in addition to. And I see all type of trickery all the time, especially in my district, because you find some of the cheaper properties there. Doesn't mean it's cheap. It's just cheaper than the grand scheme of things. Where the medium house is $275,000, which is still expensive, but you can't get those houses in other areas. So it's
Alan?
close in proximity to downtown, so people are preying on the vulnerable. But that house we just saw is out in Lauderdale. I've seen some out in other areas of the county, but I see a lot of them here in our city.
Alan, what is our authority to do something in this regard?
You don't have a whole lot. I mean, what I can, at first blush, what I would do is I would contact, and I can do that. I can contact, this kind of falls within the wheelhouse of the Attorney General. They tend to do a lot of consumer-driven issues like this, especially if it's misleading. So that would be my first inclination to do that, is send it up to the Attorney General and have them take a look at it. We can obviously, as we have before, done some educational campaign to make sure that folks are aware of this and what's going on. Unfortunately, with the recent First Amendment cases, it's difficult for us to prohibit or otherwise regulate the handing out of these handbills, whether they're done manually by the company or whether they're done through the mail. It's very difficult for us to do that right now.
But let's forget about this one, Alan. Let's focus on Y Green and Pace, which we rolled out under our city. We had a campaign and rolled this out back in.
If I remember correctly, that was a county-led initiative that we
rolled out.
We rolled out, and several municipalities rolled it out at the same time. I'd have to update myself again as to exactly how we attached ourselves to it.
So I want to disassociate ourselves.
I know we have
those two entities. I know we can't stop the hand billing, even though we have a ordinance that says that we can. I think you said that you were looking into it to see if it stands up with the First Amendment rights of, so I do know Pace and Y Green, we rolled out. So if we can send a message out saying, this is not us and we do not, suggest or recommend that you participate in this program without some type of experts to advise you. I'm seeing so many seniors, and I'm sending one to your office, man.
Yeah, please. And what, Commissioner, it's Pace and what?
Pace and Y Green.
It's Y Green.
Energy spelled backwards.
Okay.
So they'll come out.
Okay.
Replace all your windows, your roof, and do all these improvements, and then they place a lien on your home, and you pay it through your taxes. You pay it back through your taxes. Then when some folks get the payback, they look at the interest rate and that you're paying $46,000, they're paying $86,000. So it's something I don't want us to be associated with when it's harming our seniors. So if we can just look into it from staff and see how we can just
I'll look into it. The initial word I'm getting is that we actually have agreements with 4 of these type companies, and we have a formal agreement with all 4. We're going to look at what it would take to take action if the commission so chose and directed us to make those agreements dissolve, what that would take. I'll come back and report.
So don't share the images I'll give you. All right, it's personal information, but I wanted to show the commission. All right, that's one issue. My other issue is, and you're probably getting phone calls from the CRA advisory chair to sit with you because they have some concerns about, operations and how we move forward. I think you saw a very good example of it the last meeting when we deferred Ayel's project at the corner of 9th Avenue and Sistrunk, but it's not so much the things that I said is when you ask Ayel, what is the holdup, and he says, it's taken him a couple of years, to get a permit, and I'm not blaming staff or anything. We even had DSD in the room. We just wanted to have the conversation of what can make us better at the CRA in not holding projects up like his, Sharon, who's doing the vegan restaurant, or any of the projects that the Joneses got up and said, it's taking 2 years, to get a permit, and then we're not aware of it. And on one commission night, a commissioner explodes about that process. So the board brought it to my attention, and they want to sit with you and talk about not just that, other things that we can improve from a CRA perspective. And I did reach out with Shesky and Ayel, and we had a long meeting yesterday that went on into the night with staff, and I think we came up with a compromise. I had a meeting with my district last night, about some of the concerns that I expressed publicly. I told them I was going to defer it, but we are working on the language right now, and hopefully by the time we get to the CRA, if the language is there that we all agreed on, we'll move that item forward if it's the will of this commission. But I think the workshop would help us.
Well, going forward, I agree with you. The chair of the advisory board and I met yesterday. I think she's your appointee.
Yeah.
And a great lady, and she also pointed out her concern that projects are just not moving forward.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, and I spoke with the city manager about this, and wondering if within our city staff, someone can be appointed as an ombudsman to kind of, on a weekly basis, look at all the projects and see, have we moved the needle forward in some way?
And I think we're doing that. I just don't think.
Well, she didn't. Think we were.
I think we need to make sure that that's a smooth transition, both from the applicant side and the building department, because these are CRA projects where the dollars are committed for 3 years or you lose them. So if he's working on 2 years and he doesn't get this applicant in there, and it's not just him. I can name 5 more based on what the conversation I had with Rhoda, but it really puts in my opinion, it puts a black eye on our programs.
I'm not disputing that. I think
so. If we have the workshop, I think we all can give input and get an understanding of what it is you and I both
workship
experience.
You want like maybe
with the advisory board.
Advisory board? Yeah, we should schedule that.
Yeah, and then we can get their concerns, because it's not. I mean, I expressed it from the community, but then to hear it from the CRA advisory board.
Good idea, because especially since it's going to sunset in 4 years, I think.
Yeah, 4 years. But we came up with an idea when they created this economic agency, that we borrowed the money now so we can continue to work past the sunsetting of the CRA, which was an ingenious idea, but we finally got there, and we'll just see how it works beyond that that period. I think Ayel's project is one of those ones that was hanging in the hangar, waiting on that funding as well. So just wanted to make a clarification to that. The other thing I wanted to just talk about briefly is the MLK parade is coming up. I have been working with this committee for years. A lot of times you work with nonprofits, if they don't hear what they want to hear, they'll find other avenues to voice their opinion. But just like we spoke about the forensic procurement process earlier, when I spoke with this group and spoke with staff, Chris, my concern was that they follow the procurement process. Then a call was made to your office, Mayor, and things got a little bit more convoluted and communicated in a wrong manner, in my opinion, that I wasn't cooperating. But I have been cooperating with city manager, and I've asked to be CC'd on certain communications. And I don't have a problem working with the MLK parade, but I do have a problem when what I am doing is being interfered or miscommunicated as to what my wishes are. My wishes are to have that parade and make it the best parade that we can possibly have. And the city manager has done some things in the last couple of years that really has enhanced it by bringing these bands here, that we're trying to procure that process. But and I've spoken to the band director, who has the authority to sign procurement contracts with the college. And that's the person that we need to be dealing with, because it was my understanding from you and your staff that we couldn't give that money to the nonprofit and allow them to pay for those expenditures. So, but somewhere down the line, there was a serious miscommunication problem, and either you can chair the parade, or I can do it, but we can't be giving conflicting information to empower someone who thinks they're not getting what they want, but we have procedures and policies here that we have to follow. And if we're not going to follow it, then I want to bow out gracefully.
Well, the folks from the MLK parade approached me because they said that they were not hearing back from you. And so, again, I didn't take it upon myself. I just went to Chris Lagerblum and told him what concerns were expressed to me, and then I just, forwarded it to him, because I obviously that's not something I would get involved with, but I did pass the message along.
But I think the setting to do that is here where we have our conference and we talk about it so they can see that we're all on the same page and not play words against us, because that's exactly what they did. Let's say that I'm not responding. Well, we've been meeting with them for months, Phil, planning, strategizing on what we're going to do. I think when it came down to the band contract and I gave them verbatim what staff told me we had to do, is when the breakdown in communication, and they ran to the mayor to say they're not hearing from me. We meet regularly, every year. So I think sometimes we have to have this forum for you and I to resolve our differences and not just take the opinion of a committee who thinks they're not getting what they want, because we ran into this problem before with Light Up Sistrunk, when we were giving $77,000 to the nonprofit, and they took the parade from the streets. And when I came on the commission, I brought it back. It became a city event. It's a better event, and we don't get involved in procurement. So I think here we just need to, Chris needs to come back to either you or me. It doesn't matter how we do it. I just want to make sure that you and I aren't bumping heads in terms of.
I didn't get involved.
Yeah, but they said I'm not returning their phone calls. That's when you should have said. That's not, an indicator of what McKinsey does. And we have met with this group for years.
Well, I told them that's nothing I can comment on because I don't know.
But you can comment here.
But I'm saying that that's the reason why people came to me, and then I immediately referred it to our city manager, because I'm not in charge of the parade. The city manager is. So
right.
I just I'm not going to get in the middle. So I'm not.
Right, but it's our parade. It's not my parade. And I think we've done such a good job at taking it just from my district to downtown and making it inclusive with the whole city, as we do most of our parades. And I just don't want to mess that up because someone thinks they're not getting what they should get. But I'm going to follow every letter of a procurement process.
So is the parade is moving along, right? We are.
I'm understanding it's moving along under your authority, but I could be wrong. That's why I'm bringing it to your attention now. I want to be corrected publicly, because I don't want to say anything against you.
We are in receipt of an invoice as well as a contract.
From
Both
whom?
are being reviewed. It looks here to be the Alumni Musicians Association Incorporated.
And it's my understanding that we couldn't do that initially.
That's my understanding as well, but I think that's the most recent that we're in receipt of.
And then I heard that we have to have this done by the 20th, so I took the initiative and I reached out to the college and got the contact person and had them forward me a contract. But I wanted to have this conversation so that we're not convoluted moving forward and we're on the same accord.
Is that Broward College?
No, that would be Bethune-Cookman University.
Oh, Bethune, okay.
We had Florida A&M University marching band last year, remember?
So it's a marching band, okay, sorry.
Tarlisha's going to give you an update. She's the one that's handling it out of our office. So.
So if we're dealing with that person, is that a?
Let's find out if we have figured out the authority to contract. I don't.
And then I want to know why I'm not included in the written communication, not knocking on my door, not catching me in a hallway. The written communication as to what is going on.
Good afternoon, Tarlisha Smith, Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. With the contract, Commissioner McKenzie, there was a proposal that was submitted that I also submitted to the City Attorney's Office. The format that it was submitted in was not acceptable to the city, the way that the city does business, which is exactly what your office had indicated.
Initially.
Yes, about everything that was.
To the committee.
Correct. And the information that was needed was, we were attempting to contact the university or the authorized representative. I just made contact with them today. They had provided copy of a proposal and an invoice that was received by the city manager's office today, and I communicated that to Tracy. We haven't had time to discuss it today because you were at meeting already. I went upstairs and discussed it with Tracy to let her know that we did receive that contract today.
All right, and they have all the transportation, all the food items in there because I don't think we can break that up from what I was told by procurement.
Correct. That was what I had discussed also with the city attorney's office, that they were asking for several different items to be done outside of one entity, and we advised that we would not operate like that, or we could not operate like that, gave them the format, and we received a contract, well, a proposal back from them, which had to be put in contract format by our city attorney.
Well, I talked to them in lieu of our last conversation to get that from Donovan. He's a classmate of mine from the university, and I was able to track him down and find out, who can sign those documents, and he is that person. I was going to communicate it, but I was left out of the communications, which is why I'm bringing this up.
Okay, and I apologize for that, Commissioner McKenzie, because when I spoke to or attempted to reach Mr. Wells' office, I just confirmed today that he had been out. When I spoke to him today, he advised that he had been out of the office and provided me with the information this morning, which I forwarded to your office just this afternoon since you've been in the meeting.
All right, so what I'll do is, when you communicate with me, I'll come back and give a report to the commission so we all know what's going on. I don't have Mr. Glassman or Commissioner Glassman asking me what time and are there collard greens and is there any more cake and all the things that he gets his little slippery hands on.
Mayor, can we move on?
I have one more thing
And I have one more issue. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, Commissioner McKenzie, just so you know, the proposal that we received today, that information still has to go to the city attorney's office for
I'm well aware of that.
contract to be finalized.
I'm well aware of that. What I'm not aware of is the lack of communication.
Understood.
All right. And my last but not least, we had a bunch of light ups, and I almost had 100% attendance, but there was a conflict.
Sorry.
And I couldn't make it. Thank God. I heard it was raining, but I always want to be there to support all of our light ups. And we just recently had the second to the last on Sistrunk. And Commissioner Sorensen and Commissioner Glassman did come out. I understand you all had conflicts, the mayor and vice mayor, but it was a great event. And anytime you can please Commissioner Glassman with food and entertainment, you have done a wonderful job. So I was just blown away.
Glassman, I feel you.
It's always a party, actually. It's always a party. I love Light Up Sistrunk. It's a party. The music,
we'll have
everything.
Light Up Carter Park tomorrow. At what time, Phil? You don't know? Yeah. What time? 3 o'clock, Light Up Carter Park. And that's the last light up that we're going to have for this season, unless Steve decides to do another menorah.
Another one.
Amen to the last light up.
Okay.
All right, and thank you all for.
All right, great. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Glassman,
Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
you wish to respond to any of those allegations?
No, absolutely not. No, because I see
I have
litigation.
pictures of him stuffing his face.
Oh, my God.
And we made a comment about you, too.
Oh, my God. Where is it? Where is this coming from?
The desserts. I know what you like, Dean, so 'cause I always get you desserts when you go out. So we were just wishing you were there to take a bite of it.
I'm so glad I showed up. Okay. Take care of that cough. Okay, so moving right along. Thank you, Mayor. The busy couple of weeks, as everyone's already mentioned. It was always a pleasure addressing the Neighbor Leadership Academy. It was their last session, and another great group of attendees going through that program. Terrific. Vice Mayor already mentioned Light Up the Galt. We did have a lot of fun. It was good to address the Chambers Beach Council board meeting Friday the 19th, and then that evening, Mayor, we had the YOLO ribbon cutting celebrating the reopening of YOLO on Las Olas. That was a lot of fun. Next day, a lot of events. Saturday the 20th, the 9th annual turkey and grocery giveaway. Thank you to everyone in the city who's involved in that. Sanctuary Church, Michael Albetta, all the volunteers. Thousands of people. I could not believe when I got there around 8 a.m., the cars were lined up on Federal at Sanctuary Church, heading south on Federal, wrapping around on Sunrise, and all the way almost to the Galleria Mall. That's how many cars were already lined up to receive groceries and a turkey. It was just incredible to me when I saw the need. And that was just, it was unbelievable. And the people that donate all of that food, and it was really a great great community event. So congratulations to everyone involved in that. Then that day was also the Fort Lauderdale Pride Parade, always a lot of fun. We did light up the beach on the 23rd at the Loop, Las Olas Oceanside Park. Again, staff for all of these light up events. Just an incredible job out of Parks and Rec. The attendees are just so happy. Light up the beach, incredibly attended. That park was packed. People were just so happy to gather now at all of these events. The Sunday night, the 28th, was the first night of Hanukkah, and the Downtown Jewish Center Chabad had an all-day fair and then a menorah lighting that evening, very well attended. It was excellent. Then the next night, our city did the second annual lighting of the menorah at the Las Olas Oceanside Park as well. Again, really nice. Such a nice crowd. Everyone was really, again, just so happy and appreciative of the city doing these events. Had a few solid waste working group meetings in the last couple of weeks, and we will get to that commercial aspect, Mayor, I promise you. But right now, we have been concentrating on the ILA and the governing structure, but we're making a lot of progress. And as soon as we have solidified everything, we will definitely make a report to the commission. Thursday, December 2nd, it was really an honor to attend. Mayor, I know you were there. Commissioner McKenzie, you were there. The Nilda Comas Day proclamation at the Women's Club. For those of you that do not know, our very own local artist,
Oh my God.
amazing sculptor. She actually was chosen by the state of Florida, and as you know, in the U.S. Capitol in Statuary Hall, each state gets two statues. And our very own local artist is actually the artist who is going to have that piece unveiled. I believe it's February 2nd, 2022. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful sculpture. And I think we should just be so proud of the fact that she did that work locally. And it was really nice to celebrate her for that work. That evening, the Lake Ridge Civic Association had its annual holiday Taste of Italy party. That was nice to see again. All of these events, we skipped all of them last year, so due to COVID. So it was so nice to see all of these events happen again this year. And as Commissioner McKenzie mentioned, Light Up Sistrunk on Friday, December 3rd was a wonderful event. Next day, Saturday, December 4th, the 13th Street corridor, all of the neighborhoods along there, Poinsettia Heights, Lake Ridge, Middle River Terrace, South Middle River. It was great to see everyone come together for the craft beer wine festival and also the exotic car show. Amazing turnout on 13th Street for that event on that Saturday. It was really packed, and it was again great to see that. And
I couldn't get to my stores over there on Federal Highway traffic.
Okay, well, we'll make a note of that. Thank you. Coming up, we, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, we do have P.O. Racy Place tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This weekend, Saturday, the Winterfest Boat Parade. Everyone's going to be happy to see that come back. Also, Saturday, December 18th, we have Mitch's Downtown Bagel Cafe grand opening right down the street. So everyone is looking forward to that as well. I did want to mention a couple of comments that came up at my pre-agenda meeting last evening. And Chris, when we have events, and this came out as a result of the, how do you pronounce it? Odyssey? Odyssey, is this how you pronounce it? The old Riptide Festival? Okay, Odyssey. Maybe if we could really get serious about what happens at the end of these events on the beach so that people are just familiar with the traffic flow, also keeping everyone that attends these events from streaming into the roadways and preventing the cars from moving. But perhaps even on an application, we take a look at a section that we could add about traffic flow and how that's going to be handled, because I do think that that has become an issue with the moving of not just cars, but also the safety of the folks that attend these events. And then when they, as I mentioned, they just stream right into the streets, and that is becoming an issue. So if maybe we can look at that. Also, parking for these events on the beach. There was some consternation about the flat fee rates of $30 a day. People that might want to just come by for an hour or two that's really not that affordable. Maybe we can look at that down the road, where people could maybe still do a more affordable rate and not have to pay $30 to park in a city garage or a lot. That could help them as well. Last but not least, I just want to make sure that we honor everyone who served 80 years ago, 80 years today, Pearl Harbor Day. And so many innocent people lost their lives, and servicemen and out in Hawaii. And then also all of the folks that served as a result of what happened that day and our entry into World War II. So I just think that we needed to remember those folks today as well. And that's it from me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sorensen, what are you up to?
Thanks, Mayor. I don't think as much as Commissioner Glassman, but I'll bring up the rear here on it. Wanted to we had this past Sunday, the 5th, December 5th, was the anniversary of Flight 19, which I'm guessing you all are familiar with. It's a 5 Avengers that went down, World War II training at Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale. So lost all those crew members, never found the planes. Search planes went out, lost search planes as well. I mean, so it was, I think, 29 service members.
Is this like in the Bermuda Triangle?
Correct. They're not sure. They just don't know. Some of the analysis right now is that the pilots thought they were over the Keys when they were really over the Bahamas, and it's just tragic. So it was the anniversary of that at the Navy Air Station Museum on Sunday, which was just a great event and really important memory to lift those folks up there. Thanks, just tagging on to Commissioner Glassman's with Nilda Comis on, I think it was Friday. I'm not seeing it on my calendar, but I went to Stranahan House. Was that it?
That was the next night, yeah.
Next night, yeah. So next night they had amazing singers and pianists playing some gospel music, and it was just amazing celebrating Nilda Comis outside of the Stranahan House. It was amazing because you had this amazing music, and then everyone from the water taxi was hanging out, listening to this music, celebrating Nilda and what she's doing, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful celebration of a Fort Lauderdale icon of that Nilda is already. So I just want to mention that, and then maybe upcoming. Something I want to mention upcoming. You mentioned the boat parade. I think that's it. Mayor, if I could, just a couple topics. That's all right. These are one of the things I want to try to do a better job of, especially with the what we just heard, is just keeping you all updated with some things that are happening. Is Chris, want to talk about some road name changes that we're doing? So maybe Ben Rogers could best give us some updates. Ben, what I was wondering is if we can, Commissioner McKenzie, hopefully he'll be back. But
he's right.
there you are. I didn't even see you. Blended right in. Perfect. Thank you. Just want to make sure, Ben, if you won't mind giving us an update on Ruben Stacy name changing and great work you've done there, and then the Denison Way as well. Thanks.
Yep, Ben Rogers, Director of Transportation Mobility. So for the Ruben Stacy Memorial Boulevard, signage began installation earlier this month. We're scheduled to complete the installation sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then our Strategic Communications Division is going to be leading a special event sometime in February. I did notify them that there are some out-of-town guests that would probably be attending that event, and to coordinate with both commission offices on the date for that event. And
on that, Commissioner McKenzie, I shared that update with a couple folks, and then they sent it to the family, Ruben Stacy's family. So do you have the family members in?
Well, here's the problem.
Yeah.
You and I both met the family
right,
that started this. Now that it's coming to fruition, there are family members coming out of the woodwork saying they want to talk, they want to do all these things. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. I gave you the lead in this, that we just stick to the script that PIO gives us. We have one person speak on behalf of the family, and then we just do the sign unveiling. And I'm fine if the mayor leads it. I just don't want them hijacking this as a Hatfield and McCoy's, family feud. That's what I'm getting from the
Okay.
streets now, that there's another, and I had, because the young lady who came to us, she's 70-something years old, and she's a niece.
Mm-hmm.
So how can there be any, well, I do know of the young lady that came and took the picture with us, who's a cousin or something. But I think we just got to make sure we control the narrative there so it doesn't become a feud of who did what.
Right.
We, as a city, are acknowledging the street naming, and that's where I think we should draw the line. But take the lead. I'm right there with you.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thanks. And then do we need to, I'm not necessarily doing it right now, but I could do a better job with it, is coordinate with, like, I remember Representative DeBose was doing something from a state level, right? And
I still think we keep it as a city.
keep it a city. Just focus on our thing.
Yeah, and then,
Okay.
what do you think, Mayor? And the rest of the
City
commission?
road?
What do you think?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, because we always acknowledge people in the room, but do you want this to go on and on with all these proclamations and everybody sticking their hands in? I think the city did the work.
Well, with regard to whom are we speaking?
Like state, Senate, all of the
County
representatives.
wants to do something.
Because you got someone now sitting up there, and Congress is going to want to do something. You're going to have the people who want to run against him. I just think we just keep it neutral, and we acknowledge all the parties that are there. That's what I think.
I agree with you.
It's fine with me. Okay. All right, that's good. So we'll just keep, I guess, chugging that way. Okay, that's great. And then, the Dennis, we had talked about the Dennison, possibly renaming Dennison. So I just figured if you could give an update.
What is that, Ben? I'm sorry.
Sorry?
What is Dennison?
Dennison family.
Dennison family.
Yacht builders.
Oh, it's another one.
Yeah, another one, separate one.
All right.
Yep.
I thought it was a street or something, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Over in Melrose, because there's a bunch of streets with people's names on it. We're the presidents.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the first meeting in November when you guys discussed it during the conference presentation. Since that time, I worked with staff and we got some cost estimates. What we're looking to do is rename Southwest 20th Street from Southwest 9th Avenue to the dead end. So if you go west to the marina, it would be a secondary street naming. So the primary name would still be Southwest 20th Street, and then the secondary naming would be Dennison Way. We're working with the family right now to get some historical information to put a CAM together, but should be coming back sometime in February or March of 2022.
What day did you say this was coming to the commission?
Stacy.
What was the date you
Stacy,
said?
For the event for Ruben Stacy?
No, for
Ruben Stacy. What date is that?
yes.
For the event for Ruben Stacy, it has not been set yet. Strategic Communications is going to be taking
Okay.
lead on the event planning.
All right.
Okay.
And a lot of those folks won't be in office in January.
Yeah.
They'll be out.
True. Yeah.
So we need to.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. So with Dennison, the next steps, getting the background and then bringing it back to us.
Yeah, we'll put a CAM together sometime for February or March.
Okay.
We'll have all the information, and then it would just be a formal commission approval. And once that gets done, then we would fabricate the signs and do it.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Mayor. That's all I've got.
Okay, great. It has been a busy last few weeks. A number of things that you all had mentioned, but I'll just mention a few others. We did a ribbon cutting for a new sushi place, Sushi Maki, just down the street here. It was really nice. Juan Saavedra was there to join in the festivities. And
I heard that sushi was kind of tough, though. Was that true? Was it tough?
What's tough?
The sushi looked a little tough. It looked like it was difficult to cut.
Shut up.
There's Steven.
All right, it's just looked kind of tough.
They gave me a.
There's Steven.
What?
They gave me a samurai sword that was as sharp as a butter knife.
Oh, and you couldn't cut the sushi. I saw the video. It was a great video.
It was a great video.
We have some leftovers in case you want to partake.
Excuse me, this is my time.
I understand.
No, he does it to me too.
But in
man.
the future, make sure they sharpen your utensils for you. That's you can make sure. Have a little dress rehearsal, a little rehearsal.
On November 18th, I attended the New River Rail Crossing Open House that was sponsored by the Florida Department of Transportation. In participating in the event, we heard the latest update from the FDOT as to their tunnel bridge proposal. What was quite odd at this open house was that FDOT would show us designs for a bridge, which include painting the trestles for the bridge in a sort of Lego paint style, so that the trestles will look like Lego blocks. And they pointed out that successful bridges that have been implemented in South Florida include the one that passes right through Overtown in Miami, which is the poster child for bad city planning and how it destroyed a neighborhood and cut a neighborhood off from the main part of the city. So we pointed that out to them, and they seemed startled that that was the case. So clearly they don't really do much of their homework, but their price tag on the tunnel went down from $3.8 billion to $1.8 billion. Which is a number we're still trying to bring down. So it's still a work in progress. I just want you to know your mayor is continuing to act on behalf of the city to ensure that the best form of passage through the New River is going to be achieved for the city, and we're not going to tolerate a bridge that cuts our city in half.
Is there anything, Mayor, we can do to more strongly support you or advocate or
I'll let you know when that time comes up, but in forums in which the subject comes up, whatever you can do to bring it up, because I certainly bring it up every time. I will be attending a forum at the Tower Club. I'll be on a panel discussion next month. And right now I've been working with several contractors who build tunnels and bridges who have met with me and have proposed tunnels that cost anywhere between $700 million and $1.2 billion, which is almost the price of a bridge. So we're getting there, but we don't need to take a second place in anyone's city planning. Expediency is not the answer here, but sustainability is what's important, and we don't want our city divided any more today than it was years ago with the train tracks. And we're trying to prevent further division and encourage connectivity between our communities. I was at the opening of YOLO, which was great because it's a focal point on Las Olas Boulevard, and the fact it was able to reopen, and it's beautiful. Have you all been there to see the reopening? It's really, yeah, it was. But even since, I mean, it's just. On November 20th, I attended the Sanctuary Church Turkey Giveaway, which was, I believe, they gave out 4,500.
I think it was actually 4,900.
4,900 turkeys.
Yeah.
People were waiting there from 3 o'clock in the morning in line. The line stretched all the way down Federal Highway, all the way across the Sunrise Bridge. It was really great and also sad at the same time to see so many folks in our community in need. Yes.
Our black police officer in Fort Lauderdale, FOP and police department gave away 2,000 turkeys. What I thought was really nice about it over at Dixie Court, how they coordinated it, because I don't really like food drives because people come from all over to get it.
Right.
They went to all the housing authorities, took orders, and delivered the turkeys to the community. So you didn't have people coming randomly off the street. And it was to the tune of 2,000 plus. So, Chief, thank you for being a part of that. They have been doing it for like 12 years now, from what I understand, and I've never missed an opportunity. But it's good that we're doing these type of giveaways during this time of the year when people are in need. Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah, of course, and thanks to the police department for undertaking that effort. That was a huge effort, I understand, to deliver all that food to each home. That afternoon, I attended the Fort Lauderdale Pride Parade, which was a great success, and thank God the rain held off, so we didn't get rained on. And that afternoon, we had a Trans Day of Remembrance at 5 o'clock on stage, remembering those who've lost their lives as a result of their being a transgender. We did a Light Up the Beach on the 23rd.
That's nice.
Which was really great because so many people attended the event at the park. I've never seen so many people in all the years that we've had that. It was really great to see people come out and feel good about coming out and being in the open, fresh air. On the 24th, I was very honored to participate in the police department promotional ceremony, in which quite a few members of our police staff as well as administrative personnel were recognized for their promotions, and thank you, Chief Larry Scarrato, for allowing me to come and participate in that event. And it was really a wonderful time for everybody. So congratulations to all those who participated and who were promoted that day. We had a lot of Hanukkah stuff going on.
Hanukkah. I need one of those.
But I just want to say one thing in the future, that next time we have a Hanukkah menorah on the beach, that it doesn't threaten my life.
Those Hanukkah celebrations.
We were holding you. We were holding your legs.
Yeah.
That's some tough rabbis.
That's right.
Tough rabbis.
The light fell off and almost hit me. And anyway, let's see if we can have a more
Don't hurt our
structurally intact menorah next time.
Well, they weren't built to be used the way the rabbis wanted to use it, so you can't modify it like in
All
the
on the
last
Greek
two
guy's
seconds.
head. That's not too good.
Well, maybe we can lower it a couple of feet so that.
Well,
anyway, we also did a tree lighting at the Styles Plaza on Las Olas. That was another amazing turnout.
I was on the rooftop down the street.
We were on the rooftop. Yeah, it was Christmas on Las Olas, and really a great turnout. People came out. It was just a wonderful festive evening. I want to thank everybody, city staff, the Parks Department, for doing such a great job in making that a smooth event. We saw all the kids sliding down the snowbank that was with manufactured snow. So it was really fun. Good to be 5 years old again.
So what I did notice.
What's that?
From the rooftop, that there was a gap. So maybe because we pushed down to Styles this year, there's a gap right there by the Riverside Hotel, and then where the kids were playing, the crowd picked up, and it was very heavily populated from
further
to
north, further
the
east.
But there was a gap right.
Saw that too. On December 1st, we had a ceremony recognizing World AIDS Day at the Galleria. Quite a few people who were stakeholders and providers in the HIV/AIDS community came out and once again recognized World AIDS Day and the accomplishments that we've been able to achieve with regard to the care and the cure of HIV/AIDS in this country. I also attended the proclamation for Nilda Comas regarding her Mary Bethune statues. It was really wonderful to see all the people that supported her and the magnificent work of art that she created that's going to appear in the statuary hall in the U.S. Capitol. Lake Ridge Party. Did you mention that, Commissioner?
yes, I did actually.
Yeah, okay. Another wonderful event at Vico's Italian restaurant. And quite a few people came there, judges and other elected officials. It was really a great event. So we have the Coral Ridge Holiday Party on December 8th.
I'll be there.
And I will meet you there. I'm going to try to get there. There's like 6 events between the hours of 4 and
Right. It's
What's that?
tomorrow's crazy.
Coral Ridge Country Club.
Crazy tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
After
crazy.
Cafe Vico.
I've got so many
After
events
Pios.
tomorrow. We have a ribbon
For the
cutting
place.
for the Amara Med Spa on 1213 East Las Olas Boulevard. That's tomorrow at 6:30. The FOP is having a holiday party at the Royal Pig. Elizabeth King Toy Drive at the Grand Pelican. You're going to that, Commissioner. And then, let's see. I'll be attending on December 10th the Mayor's Roundtable at South Florida Tech Hub, which will be in Boca Raton that morning. But that evening, I will be participating in the Grand Marshal reception at 6 p.m. at the Hard Rock Casino. I hope you can all attend to help welcome Mario Lopez as our Grand Marshal this year for the boat parade. Let's see. And of course, you mentioned the boat parade, and we have a ribbon cutting on the December 14th for the Cordova Road seawall. Magnificent work of art, I'll tell you. Staff, Public Works, did a great job in rebuilding that seawall and making Cordova Road a much more sustainable pathway in which to live and travel.
When's that ribbon cutting, Mayor?
I would have it down as December 14th.
December 14th, huh?
4:30? Am I wrong?
No, you're probably right. I just don't,
Okay.
I'm not available on it. Okay.
Well, I'll be there to represent you.
Okay.
Let's see. Mitch's Downtown Bagel Cafe, their official ribbon cutting is the 18th. And finally, on the 18th, the Winter in the Park with Imperial Point Neighborhood, the Dottie Mancini Park at 6 p.m.
Winter in the park.
So, couple things. The appraisal on Bahia Mar, Chris, we're not expecting that until sometime in January. Is that correct?
60 days from when it was ordered, which it was ordered after the last meeting on Bahia Mar, so
Right,
that's
so
correct.
about the middle of January. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So we really can't make any decisions until we have that valuation, I would think, right?
If you were going to use that in your decision-making process,
I
correct.
think that we would need that before we, so anything that, so we have a December 21st workshop, which I don't really think is going to be relevant until such time as, so we may have to cancel that and postpone it until after. Does that make sense to everybody?
I don't think it was a workshop. Wasn't it an agenda, a conference
It's
agenda
agenda,
item?
wasn't a workshop.
It was an agenda, okay.
It
I
would
had
be
it.
on workshop.
I think it was a conference meeting.
Yeah, I think we should take it off because I think that we're not ready.
You're correct, it was a conference,
Yeah, It's a conference item agenda. I think we should take it off because we're not ready. We need to know what the value of the property is before we can make any decisions.
Are we doing two different values? Are we doing two different evaluations?
Well, there's a
Current lease
valuation.
of what's there and then any future
Yes.
proposal, right?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Well, I have a question, Mayor, because I know that the city attorney was also working on the leases and all of the master documents, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Is there any way we can at least find out how that's going without, can we bifurcate the appraisal part of it with the revenue versus everything else, or no?
Well, the appraisal is going to affect the revenue. Right?
No.
From the document standpoint, the appraisal is irrelevant to me. That's only if you choose that model. Right now, what's been presented is the revenue sharing one, which is what we're working on just because that's what was presented to us.
Right.
So the documents themselves, if you want to look at them, that's fine and discuss them. But again, there won't
Yeah,
be able
I'd
to-
still like to discuss them and see what would make, what the progress has been from the last meeting till December 21, until we have another meeting in January, because I really think that we should just keep
what-
moving
what-
and meeting.
Help me out here. What would we be discussing then?
Well, Alan, what did you just say?
No, we have drafts that we're going to be going back and forth and modifying. How final they'll be at that date, we'll see. It won't be the final, but it will be based on the revenue sharing model that was proposed by our lessee. So if you want to discuss that, we can have something ready, but if you want to wait until,
Condo docs?
right, the master,
Master Association docs?
right, the master declaration, the phased lease concept, because that won't come into play until there's an actual building, and then the master lease.
Master lease too. Well, I would like to just see the progress as it's happening,
Me
so
too.
we're not one big lump sum at the end of the
Well,
day.
the problem is
Me
that,
too.
The problem is, first of all, you're always entitled to see those documents outside of a meeting, number one. Number two, if we have it as an agenda item, I have to open up for public comment, and I don't know if we're ready for that yet.
We don't have a problem with that because we told the public
Yeah,
that
but if-
every step of the way,
But it's
they would
not-
have an opportunity.
Yeah, but anything that's on an agenda item, we're required to have public input.
Right, and I'm saying, we agreed to that.
But we can't talk with each other about the progress on all these documents
I think
unless
we
we
keep
have a
moving
noticed
forward.
meeting.
And then
But I
there's
don't
gonna be
think
another, at least 2 or 3 more meetings, am I right, Alan?
Yeah, but I don't think we're ready for discussion because they're not in final form.
We have
They
the
are.
master lease.
Say that again?
Don't we have the master lease?
I think we keep
We
moving
can look
forward.
at
It's a
as
lot of
opposed to-
documents.
Yeah, with the meeting and not cancel it.
You know what? Whatever you want. I just think that we're going to be twiddling our thumbs.
But that's what we agreed on, now we're changing it in the 11th hour,
Yes,
so.
but we agreed on that because we thought we were going to have, by that time.
We knew we weren't gonna have the
Let me
appraisal.
finish what I'm saying. I thought we would have come to an agreement as to the financial terms, and that would be a discussion with the commission, and then that evening, we were going to vote on it. But we're not going to do either of those things because we don't have an appraisal done, and we're certainly not going to vote on it that night.
So we're gonna have a consensus today to move forward on the 20th, am I correct? Is that what you're asking, Stephen? It's a
Yes,
consensus.
I still think there's a lot of work to be done, and I just think we could do it incrementally, only because what if we see language that we're not happy about in what's being drafted so far, then we want to change it, then we want to, do something to amend that language. I'm not concern. I mean, I think, yeah, it's an agenda item, public input, that's okay, but, yeah, because I think this is a work in progress.
Well, that's the point. It's still a work in progress. But look, I don't want to debate it. We'll do it. And I'm just saying, I just think it'll be going to consume a lot of time and not really get anywhere. It's something that you can, if you have concerns about some of the language, you can talk to the city attorney directly.
Right, but I don't want to, that's something I don't want to do unilaterally. I think that all of us should be discussing it, that's all.
Okay. All right. So, city manager, do you have any reports?
Just got a couple housekeeping issues. We need to reschedule, obviously, the joint meeting that we had scheduled tonight earlier today. We were going to have a couple of people potentially not be able to be at, and I don't know that the timing was perfect. So, and I hear you that you want to do a joint meeting with the CRA board. So I want to throw that out there. I know Commissioner Glassman, January 5th is, you're not here January 5th, if I recall correctly.
No, I am. Commissioner McKenzie said he's not here.
McKenzie won't be here.
I am here on the 5th.
But I still think the CRA board's gonna lead this, so I mean, I don't want to slow progress, and we can do it. It's not urgent, but I think we need to talk about it, because I think compromise I reached with this group, when we were nowhere the other day, is a good model or a template of how we move forward to capture some of those issues that I had.
Okay, so.
But the CRA advisory board has way more issues than I have. And I'm sure we all have input as well.
But you're not going to be here on January 5th?
No, I told you I won't be here.
Yeah, I'm just confirming it. That's
No, so I won't, but I don't have a problem.
So, but no, you should be here, because it's
Yeah.
part of the CRA's.
So the 18th.
Yeah, so the 18th is available.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it then. Okay,
And then you want to move CPRB to February?
Yeah.
thanks.
But there was a reason why the 5th was not good for me.
No, you were good last time.
Yeah, but something has come up.
Going to my birthday celebration?
Yeah.
They're traveling together?
Yeah.
On your
Going
cruise?
abroad.
I'll know about
Jealous?
Uh-oh.
it. But you're not going to be here on the 5th?
No, I am going to be
Yes,
here
I
on
can,
the
I can
5th.
run the meeting. It's okay.
It's only Commissioner McKenzie said he's not going to be here. Don't put it on me.
Steve, Ben, we
Now,
got
Dean wants
it.
to tag along.
We got it.
I am here on the 5th.
Now, Dean wants to tag along with me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him.
You're not going to be here on the 5th?
Cruise together.
You're not going to be here?
I'm going to be here. But something came up that I
think
can't remember what it was. Got it. Take me away, but it's okay.
We got Vice Mayor over here ready to go.
We got it.
We have a quorum.
Lady.
We got a quorum.
We got it.
All right, anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
Any further business of the city commission conference?
Are we doing CRA later?
Yeah, we are.
Right now.
Okay.
Right now?
Conference
Right now.
meeting
Okay,
is now
good.
concluded. We're going to begin the CRA board meeting. Could you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Moritas.
Here.
Commissioner Glassman.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
I am present.
Commissioner Soren.
Here.
Chair Trentels.
Yes, here. M1, this is a motion approving the minutes for the November 2nd, 2021 Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. Someone like to move the item?
So move.
Second.
Seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Moritas.
I'm sorry. Is this the rule for the minutes?
This is for the minutes.
Okay, yes, thank you.
No.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Chair Trentels.
Yes, and the minutes are now approved. R1, a resolution approving the budget amendment, return Central City Community Development Agency fund balance for reallocation. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Anyone have any questions? There being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving a budget amendment and providing for an effective date. Vice Chair Moritas.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Chair Trentels.
Yes, and R1 is approved. R2, resolution approving funding for the CRA residential facade and landscaping program, $300,000. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
Any questions or comments? There being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving additional funding in the amount of $300,000 for the residential facade and landscaping program for Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights area, delegating authority to the Executive Director to approve awards to qualified applicants and to execute any and all documents relating to such awards and providing for an effective date. Vice Chair Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Chair Trentels.
Yes, and R2 is approved. On to R3, resolution approving a $4 million CRA redevelopment incentive program loan to 909 Northwest 6th Street LLC for a mixed-use commercial development project to be located at 909 Sistrunk Boulevard, and authorizing the executive director to execute any and all related instruments and delegating authority to the executive director to take certain action. I have two people who have signed up to speak. Tara Chadwick and Io Chadwick. Are you both here? Are you Tara? Who is Ahio Chadwick?
Huh?
You. Can you reach the microphone?
We got a cordless.
So, good afternoon. My name is Tara. I just want to clarify about the address. My understanding is this is a resolution to provide $4 million in incentive funding for the construction of a entertainment complex.
Can you speak into the microphone a little bit? Pull the microphone down to you. A little bit, speak into it a little bit better.
I just wanted to clarify for the record whether this R3 is for the provision of a $4 million incentive for the creation of the entertainment complex.
Entertainment complex? Where do you?
It's an office retail.
It's office.
Office and retail. This is not the cigar bar and distillery.
No, that's already approved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You want to talk about it?
I mean, the reason why we came here is because I really enjoy, I live on 10th Avenue, and I really enjoy the investment that's happening in our neighborhood. But I don't know if you guys actually walk our neighborhood, but our neighborhood is made up, 10th Avenue, from all the way from Sistrunk to 9th is all families, and our median income in our neighborhood is $26,000. So none of us are going to be going to the cigar bar or the distillery, So I just wanted you guys to know that. And
Well, let me.
All right. So
let me.
all right, hold on a second. This has nothing to do with this.
I know, but I wanted her to
yeah,
talk.
that's fine.
It's a good point.
The thing is, I didn't know that it was on there before, and so I'm looking forward to the mixed use development, but not the cigar bar and the.
I am the district commissioner, and I walk that street every morning. I know 10th Avenue like the back of my hand, and you're absolutely correct. We are residential. We're no different than any other quadrant in this city, whether it's Las Olas, whether it's Coral Ridge or over in Rio Vista. You always have businesses abutting neighborhoods with a complement, and the things that we're bringing online is the same things that we have in other parts of the city. And one night I would love, or one evening, grab you and we go walking down Sistrunk and show you some of the things that have already come online and show you that you can you can afford
In fact,
it.
you and I have met on Sistrunk.
I know.
Before.
So you said none of us have walked this street.
No, I said I don't know if you have, because if you had, why would you have decided to put us?
This is going to be very nice, and I guarantee we're going to have some nice happy hours there. Okay?
Tara, take him up on it. Let him pay for everything. Let him show you a night like you've never.
That's how we roll in District 3.
Let him.
Did I not feed you? Give you a drink the other night?
I'm talking to Tara. Yes, Tara, just take him up on it, okay?
Mayor.
That's all I'm saying.
I think that my son Ihio would like to also make his comment. No?
Uh-oh, please.
I hope she's not going to the cigar bar.
Just say your name. Say whatever you want.
I'm Ihio Chadwick.
You can stand really close to it. Go.
I'm Ihio Chadwick.
What do you want them to know? These are the guys who are making the decisions for us. Say what you think about our neighborhood.
In Sistrunk, mostly elderly that live there, and
Come on, say it. Whatever you want.
All right.
like my mom said, there's not really many people that will be able to afford the yeah,
Yeah.
the and yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. And just for you, we're building a YMCA and we're redoing Carter Park. So it's going to have lots of activities for children your age, okay? And I look forward to you being there, okay?
All right, thank you.
No alcohol.
Okay. Any further questions on this resolution? Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
Well, go ahead.
It's introduced. Any further questions?
I just want to make a comment. I know we were far, far apart last meeting. I commend Debbie Oshesky and Ayel for the long, drawn-out fight we had yesterday to come to a compromise. And I think it's going to be a template of how we move forward and we help both the developer and the end user so we don't see empty shops moving forward. And he has agreed to 3 terms. If you want to hear it, I'll tell you. But those 3 things will be in there that we discussed. And let's get cracking.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and articulate those 3 for the record, just so
Yeah, we
Mr.
should
Olszewski
know.
can agree to them. I only noticed 1 sentence, so do you notice 3 components, Debbie?
One
Thought it
sentence
was-
works just fine, and we can elaborate
But
if
one,
necessary.
Okay.
it kind of like, it's the same thing, but
Right, so currently in the development agreement, there's indication of a commitment of $200,000 over a course of years as a community benefit. They have agreed to, as I think was your request, to use that to subsidize some of the initial rents in the building to get tenants in the building. And I probably have not said that exactly correct, but that was the content that needed to be mentioned, was that $200,000 was going to be used to buy down rent.
and it's twofold. So the rent will be $15 now. That 200 will help make up that gap to get it at the market rate that you discussed earlier. And then you also threw in there that you would have a permit within 24 months.
Absolutely, that, let me first agree to.
We're going to help you with that too.
Thank you. And let me just add that we had an exciting dialogue. I don't think it was a fight, it was an exciting dialogue.
No.
But we ended up in the right place, and I really want to thank both Chris and Clarence that we were able to identify what the issue was and come up with a solution that works for everyone. It's essentially going to be a rental subsidy that will allow entry-level startup neighborhood businesses to be able to afford new retail space or other commercial space in the building. And we will fund that up to $200,000, and look forward to working with the CRA staff and attorney to finalize those terms. In addition, we have agreed that a building permit would be issued for the proposed project within 2 years of today, in order to, or we would lose the funding. So we think that it's important that development agreements going forward, we absolutely agree with Commissioner McKenzie that the developers need to have a fire under them a bit, particularly in this busy and active market that we have today. It should be easy. So we look forward to working with you and finalizing this and creating a new template for these agreements. Thank you.
So, Chris, my only concern is, and I think this is a great concept, so are we going to be doing this with everyone now going forward? So it's not just this particular project, it's doing rental subsidies or anything else?
Well, I think what I was saying was, when we had the workshop, this is going to be some of the desires of the advisory board, me, and probably you, because we want it to be a template.
Yeah.
Because what we find is these empty buildings, especially in my district, because the community part that's supposed to take place, they can't afford the rents. So we're talking about maybe 1 year, and then, because the first year, most businesses fail. So we can get them out of the chute with a contribution from the developer out of the monies that we're giving them. I think it's going to do what the CRA is intended to do.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure that we're treating everyone equally.
Yeah, because
there are other buildings that are empty.
I think everyone moving forward, Steve,
Yes.
should have the same
Okay.
opportunity, and it should just be a given, so that we can make sure we can offer that component. It may not be filled with subsidies. It may be filled with market rate, but if that scenario occurs, we have the opportunity to offer it, and it's not some COVID government money that we're going to do like we did both on Sistrunk and Northeast 13th Street. We know that there are needs all over the city for that, and we have a CRA that can supply this vehicle or monetary contribution, and that was their idea.
Okay. No, I really like the concept.
I want to use it as a template.
I want to make sure we're applying it
follow up
across
just-
the board. At our last CRA meeting, we approved some agenda items that this was not part of that requirement. So I just want to make sure that we're treating everyone the same.
I echo your sentiments exactly.
Let me follow up a little bit on what Commissioner McKenzie said. With these projects, community benefit can come in an assortment of different ways. This is one of the ways that community benefit can be articulated. What we've realized in this case is sometimes there's a guarantee of a number of jobs created. When you're a landlord and not the tenant, you have a hard time agreeing to a certain number of jobs created because you don't know what businesses are going to be there eventually. So working with Eyal and Debbie was a good exercise last night to articulate community benefit in the form of rental assistance. So it could be a little bit different in each project, but this is one option to meet that.
As long as this component, even if it looks a little bit different in each project, I just want to make sure that this component is part of everything going forward, that's all.
Yeah, because when you sit down with applicants, they tell you, oh, it's going to be affordable, but then 5 years go by and things change. And to his credit, the critical mass is not there that he was expecting. He had a total different plan for 7th Avenue and that gateway, which is totally changed now. It's going to residential mixed use, which is fine, but that's not what we talked about. But last night we were able to come to a compromise and now realize what the real need is in that CRA. And we're going to try to do what we can to make it equitable for everyone that applies.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad that you guys all met and worked it out, and thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Chris, for helping.
And I had a long meeting last night with my constituents, so I told them I was going to defer it, but you have satisfied my thirst.
All right. Any further questions or comments? If
Introduced.
not, let's proceed to vote.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving a forgivable loan in the amount of $4 million to 909 Northwest 6th Street LLC, delegating authority to the Executive Director to execute any and all related instruments, delegating authority to the Executive Director to take certain actions and providing for an effective date. Vice Chair Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Chair Trentels?
Yes. And
Thank you all.
And R3 is approved. Good luck, thank you. R4, resolution authorizing budget amendment, appropriation of escrow account funds in Central Beach wayfindings and information signage, capital project funds to the aquatic complex renovation project. We have one person that signed up to speak. Mr. Bill Brown, you want to speak?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission. Bill Brown, President, Central Beach Alliance. For the record, the card was marked opposed, but we have some concerns. We're not opposed to it, but we spoke with Commissioner Glassman last night at his pre-agenda meeting about our concerns, and I think he's going to raise those concerns in his discussion. I was hoping to follow him after that discussion if there was anything left. But the concern that we have the most is, number one, we do support the Aquatic Center. We understand that the funds are being transferred for the new filtration system for that project. But our concern is you're transferring the $381,000 out of the approved, the CRA Advisory Board recommendation that came before this commission several years ago, when some of the members will recall, to do funding for the wayfinding signage for the Central Beach area, which is much needed, especially, Mayor, when they step off those Teslas and come up into the Loop Park, so they know which direction to go and where to find the other events or event sites, and also signage for the parking garage. Now that we're losing some of the city lots where they're presently at, people are going to have signage to get directed. So that's our concern. We know you're a can-do commission, but we also know you will do, and you'll always do the right things. So we hope that you come back and find the funding to continue that signage project at a future date. And what concerned us the most was the way it was worded, abandonment. But we have an understanding, I think there'll be some discussion what that abandonment term means. So thank you, and thank you for always doing the right things for the constituents.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Mayor, I did have a few comments on it, just
Please go
to
ahead.
follow up on what Bill just said. So specifically with regards to the Central Beach Wayfinding and Information Signage Capital Project, this is also related to this evening in the regular meeting, CR7. If you look at the line items, there is one P11595, $450,000 was identified for Central Beach Wayfinding and Information Signage Capital Project, and also $435,000 in parking funds. So this goes back to, I believe, 2016 in the CIP for a total of $885,000. So I did have those questions that Bill mentioned, but I wanted you to have those specific line items and dollar amounts, because for the last 5 years, we have been talking about the importance of that. So, Chris, what is the status of that CIP project that we've been discussing, and those $885,000 from those funds?
All right, so the wayfinding project is one that has been, I think, studied. It just hasn't moved forward. What we find ourselves now in sort of the phasing of these projects is the Aquatic Center apparently, and I'm going to do the best I can here, and I don't know if Tom Green is in the audience. Hopefully he is, or Bill can speak on his behalf. But there's a difference in how chlorine is generated to treat the pool water. And initially we had equipment and machinery that would create chlorine on site that would be used to chlorinate the pool water. Along the way, for whatever reason, the project changed. That chlorine generation system was backed out, and we went forward with the notion that we were going to truck chlorine in and have it delivered at the Aquatic Center on whatever basis it needed to be delivered so it could be added to the pools to treat them correctly. The desire, long-term, if the commission so chooses, is to return to the way it was initially and originally designed. It's much safer. Over time, it's much more cost-effective. We don't deal with chlorine dropped off in cylinders. We actually produce it and generate it at the complex itself. That if we're trying to bring this online as the world-class facility that it is, creating our own chlorine on site is the preferred way to go. It does require, as you know, to identify a funding source, and we have to use that word abandoned, because in order to do away with one project to actually utilize those funds, it requires that nomenclature to be used. This money would be transferred over to this project because we're at the point in time with that project where we need to have available dollars. And to the extent that we then bring wayfinding back online, I will have to bring you a subsequent action identifying those funds in the CIP to further the wayfinding project. The Aquatic Center project is just simply further along at this point, and we are at that point we have to pick.
No, and I understand that, and I'm totally supportive of the, the on-site chlorine generating systems, et cetera, et cetera. But what is the status, and where are we, though, with regards to the Central Beach Wayfinding and Information Signage project? So that's been kicking around for 5 years now.
Correct. Ben, do you have an update on that, or do I need to have Tom Green here? Is Tom here?
Longer than that.
I'm not sure how we don't have Tom here, so maybe what we could do is suspend the CRA meeting. He'll be here for the evening meeting. We'll have the companion item, as you mentioned, come up tonight. Let's get that explanation, and then maybe we can end tonight with this final item on the CRA agenda.
That's okay with me. Again, I'm not opposed to the reasons, and I understand exactly what's happening with regards to, quote, abandonment, but I just want to find out where we are with
I guess you could take action on this item now, because if you change your mind and don't take action tonight, it's not going to.
We can come up with the.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to get the answers to the status of that project.
We'll get that for you.
Where's
Thank
the, just for clarification, where's the money coming from? Which project?
These are Beach, so it's the wayfinding project
I
that's.
know it's a wayfinder, but we're gonna substitute a CIA project to fund this, am I correct? Is that what you said?
Correct. In order to fund wayfinding, we would need to identify funds in the CIP.
You haven't
and
identified
fund
a
it.
source yet.
I have not identified a source
Okay,
yet.
that's what I
But I
wanted.
do have either, we got to move forward with this chlorine or we got to truck it in.
Right.
And,
I'm on board.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Someone
Introduced.
Introduce. He took mine, I'm taking his.
Please call the roll.
A resolution of the
Rich.
Board of Commissioners of the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving a budget amendment and providing for an effective date. Vice Chair Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and R4 is approved. Any further business of the CRA? There being none, meeting's concluded, and we'll resume at 6 p.m. for our evening meeting.
All right, what time is it now?
All right.
Oh, we got
5:15.
42 minutes. Thank you, Mayor.